Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. Landon Schmidt producing. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours on a busy Wednesday afternoon. We had some really good college basketball action last night. The Grizzlies are back in action tonight against the San Antonio Spurs. We've got a lot of football to get into, both college and the NFL. So a lot going on this afternoon. But Brett, how are you?
Brian, I'm doing great, and we did have a good night of college basketball last night, and it feels like every night the rest of the way we're going to have that with all this conference, these expanded conferences, all these matchups, a lot of them not for the first time, but certainly for the first time in conference play, and not necessarily sometimes the drudgery of conference play. I think I like the shakeup and the realignment in the conferences, for nothing else, to give us some different matchups instead of kind of what we used to know of, running into that same team when everybody played, round robin, played twice, and familiarity really kind of bred contempt.
Yeah, no, it did, and so it's fun to just add some more flavor to some of these conferences, and it just makes things even more interesting. And it's weird when you have Iowa and USC duking it out late night last night, but I think that just grows the interest level in some of these conferences. And I think it's fun. And tonight we'll get Texas and Oklahoma, old Red River on the hardwood, and
you got it right.
So it's fun.
And we get West Virginia at Houston.
Yeah, and
conference.
That's right, and that'll be an interesting game to see. How both those teams react. I mean, West Virginia has the signature win over Kansas and has been playing well throughout the season. Houston might be maybe a peg down from where they usually are, but still with that Hall of Fame coach, he's got a good team. So that's certainly going to be a marquee game tonight.
If you had told me in the middle of the Phi Slamma Jamma rain that someday West Virginia and Houston will be playing in a conference game, I don't even know what league West Virginia played in the 80s. Were they independent? I think they might have been independent. I'm looking now. I don't even remember what league in the 80s West Virginia was a part of.
Wow. Long time ago, Brett.
It is a long time ago.
Things have certainly changed, and it's fun to watch these new conferences. But last night, a lot of big games, a lot of wild results, and certainly the biggest one locally has got to be Ole Miss and what they did on the road against Alabama, holding the Crimson Tide to only 64 points and getting a massive marquee win for that program and that era under Chris Beard.
Heavy underdogs going into that game last night, and Mark Adams and Coach Chris Beard with a defensive plan that was great in the strategy and better in the execution. It took Alabama out of their game and had Ole Miss, really playing with the advantage most of the night. And with Ole Miss friends last night and on Twitter, I saw a lot of where does it rank? Where does it rank as far as regular season wins? Well, it's way up there. I think the last one at Rupp Arena, and Brian, the last one at Rupp Arena for Ole Miss to win, Keith Carter was the star of the game. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So it's been a while, but that last night is way up there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of fun and really good win.
Yeah, really good win. And I thought, defensively, Ole Miss was really impressive. Alabama turned the ball over 21 times, and that was a huge factor. Ole Miss scoring 19 points off of turnovers, and then what they were able to hold Alabama to in the second half. 1 for 9 from 3. We know that's the bread and butter for Alabama. That's what they want to do when they're having success, is knocking down 3 balls. And so,
when they don't, that's when they're gettable.
Yeah. And so that's what you saw last night. And, there was a stretch there, I think about a 3.5, 4 minute stretch almost, where Ole Miss went on about a 5-0 run. Alabama could not get any good looks, held scoreless, and that really was a big reason why they were able to run away with that game late. So I was really impressed with what I saw last night for Ole Miss.
You know who else had a really good night last night?
The Memphis Tigers.
the Memphis
That's
Tigers.
right. Yes, Memphis
sitting
there.
in a hotel room
Yeah.
in Philadelphia, watching the Missouri Tigers win, watching Ole Miss win, and that always redounds well for them. I know everybody's going to look at the polls and the net and want to be all stirred up about it. I promise you, if Memphis wins out and Ole Miss wins out, Ole Miss didn't win it out. Memphis may, but let's say they both won out. That head-to-head matchup's going to matter.
Yeah, and no,
head-to-head matchup that was a pounding.
It was, and I was thinking about that last night, just watching Ole Miss get the win, and then not much longer after that, seeing Missouri get the big win over Florida. So a really, really good night.
I didn't miss it much, Brian. I asked rhetorically about West Virginia. I didn't miss it much.
Okay.
Right after being independent all of the 70s,
wow.
In the 80s, I would have never guessed. I could have guessed 10 conferences. I wouldn't have guessed this. Members of the A10.
Okay.
And good. I remember Gail Catlett there very well, but I didn't remember them being in the A10 after independent status.
Yeah, we would have been here all day. I probably would have never gotten to A10. Wow.
I wouldn't have.
A little Mountaineer history for you.
Yeah.
Start the show. Didn't see that coming.
So West Virginia, Houston tonight.
That's right. That'll be a fun one. Some good games tonight.
Real good.
And that will be a really.
And I'm looking
fun
forward
one.
to tomorrow night. I just think even in a loss, I think this team needs to be test with stress.
Yeah, and I mean, some of those things that we've talked about really all week since that East Carolina game. If those come up in a road game against Temple, and this could be one of those games that you drop on the road, and certainly, I think, like you said, kind of need that because they've just. Look, they know they're better than all the teams they're playing in this conference, and as much as we want to talk about, well, you got to stay focused, it's very hard for an 18 to 24, 5-year-old to not have that in their mind. It's not saying they're going to lay down and just,
It's the sport.
Just show up and play, but, that is a little bit there, and so, yeah, I think being tested definitely wouldn't hurt this team, and we definitely could see it tomorrow night against Temple and Mashburn Jr., who's been really good for them this year.
They hear it, they see it. Coach Hardaway and the coaching staff and the people around the program are telling them, lock in, get a little more serious. So you hope they're the ones that just being told that you lock in and you get serious. They might be the one that they have to get burned by it and get that loss, and then that maybe recalibrates them. But still going along well. Speaking of winning it all.
Okay.
Are you ready for odds to win it all this year?
In college basketball?
Just released.
Okay. Sure. Let's go.
From betonline.ag, Duke 5-1, Auburn 6-1, Iowa State 9-1, Alabama 14-1. So that's the top four. Houston's also 14-1. Florida 16-1, Tennessee 16-1, Gonzaga and Kentucky both 18-1, UConn 20-1. That'd be for the three-peat.
Wow.
20-1 for the three-peat. Kansas 22-1, Illinois 28-1, Michigan 33-1, Marquette and St. John's 40-1. All right, we're getting a little wild now in odds. Arizona 50-1, Michigan State 60-1. The two Egg Bowl participants, State and Ole Miss, both at 66-1.
Wow.
Baylor at 75-1. There are others in here. All the way down at 100-1, the Memphis Tigers.
100-1.
John Calipari, that heretofore I'm going to start calling him Cal Heath, because he resembles Stan Heath more than he does John Calipari on the sideline. Cal Heath and the Razorbacks, 150-1.
That raises the question, Brett, how many people resemble other people more than they resemble themselves?
Well, it's always better to be yourself than anybody else. But,
it's very true.
But last night I thought that was Stan Heath coaching the Razorbacks. And I said, look at old Cal Heath.
Oh, man, yeah, that was a weird game, and, good win for LSU.
LSU's not very good in that building. You may never go to PMAC and be softer and quieter.
No. It was weird.
It's louder than that at pep rallies on college football game days.
That's right. It was a weird game, and the way that whole game kind of played out, it was. I didn't enjoy watching that game.
There was a point in the first half, Arkansas was up 28-20, rolling pretty good. LSU got a stick back, got it 28-22. Great wild shot on the other end. When LSU was dribbling into the forecourt, I said, if they make a three here, changes the whole game. I didn't get it out good. Bottom of the net, and from there on, LSU to control the game.
Yeah.
And in front of nobody. Sleepy doesn't do it justice, what Pete Maravich Assembly Center was last night.
Yeah, no, it was a weird game. Arkansas and LSU, I mean, they really kind of flip-flopped in terms of what they were doing in the halves. First half, Arkansas shooting about 45% from the field, and LSU shooting about 30% from the field. Flip-flop. I mean, second half, LSU shooting about 47% from the field, and Arkansas only shooting about 32 or so percent from the field. And then you look at the turnovers. I mean, only 3 turnovers for Arkansas in the first half, playing really well. 9 turnovers in the second half, and I believe LSU scored about 15 or so points off of those turnovers. So, just a lot of kind of sloppy play in that second half for Arkansas.
Brian, help me. The big man for Arkansas.
Big Z.
I'm sorry, who?
Are you talking about Big Z?
No. I'm trying to find who his dad played here at Memphis, didn't he? Thiero?
Yes, Adu Thiero. Yes, absolutely. Sure did.
He wasn't very good, was he?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yes, he did. There's a Memphis connection there.
What this player's good, averaging 16 points.
He's their best player. He's been really good all year, and I mean you look at a couple of guys on that roster with Cal and Memphis connections with him and DJ Wagner and Billy Richmond, and so I mean it's kind of running it back with their sons.
Somebody told me that Antonio Burks has a son on Arkansas.
Is that right? Okay, I didn't know that. Huh.
I don't know that that's accurate, but somebody told me that.
I mean, I believe it, but
I mean, I knew the Wagner connection, and last night I saw that name, and I thought, don't I remember?
You do. You absolutely
do.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he had a good night last night, but ultimately...
Can I have my 13th bold 2025 prediction?
Please.
I'm up to 13 or 14
We're just adding. I think we got to, maybe the start of February, we have to cut off the 2025 predictions. You're getting a little close.
It's like the shelf life on Happy New Year to people.
Yes,
I mean, we've hit that, haven't we?
We've certainly hit that. So, but I'll let that fly. I'll let this
fly. A year from now, Billy Richmond will be a Memphis Tiger.
Okay. Young guy. Still has a lot of ball left to play. I could maybe see it. I saw him last year. I guess it was last year when he was in high school against Houston. And certainly a very talented player. He definitely knew he was the best player on the court, though. And I think this year may be a good year for him to understand that the college level is much different from high school and being the best player on your team every time you run out there. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate that at all. I'd like to see Billy Richmond on Memphis next year. Be fun. But we got a lot to get into today. We'll talk a lot more college basketball because we really didn't get into everything that happened last night with a lot of really good SEC games last night. We got a couple of SEC games tonight, including Georgia and Tennessee tonight on SEC Network, which will be a fun one. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Coach Tommy West, he'll join us to talk some college football. We'll get his thoughts on what happened in the semifinal games last week and his prediction for the national championship game. 3:45, we'll talk Grizzlies as they're on the road tonight against the San Antonio Spurs, a part of this 4-game road trip. They'll play San Antonio tonight, off tomorrow night, and then Friday night, another road game against San Antonio. So we'll talk about that matchup and what the Grizzlies need to do tonight on the road against the Spurs. 4 o'clock, David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, will join us to talk college football. We'll get to a lot with him, semifinals, national championship game, transfer portal, everything going on in the world of college football. 4:30, we'll get back into some college basketball talk with the big games last night. Ole Miss, their big upset over Alabama. Alabama, Missouri, their big win over Florida. Both those games really help the Tigers in terms of net and everything that goes into that. They just sit back and relax and let the other teams do the work for them. So we'll talk a lot about that at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated will join us to talk more college basketball. We'll get into the Tigers and everything else going on in the world of college basketball. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the floor model sale. All 2024 inventory, it's got to go. Help them make room for 2025. All floor models up to 50% off. Cold plunge tubs starting at $49.99. Hot tubs up to $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Pool tables, arcades, ping pong tables, air hockey, foosball tables, all up to 20 to 60% off. And don't forget about the theater seating, now up to 75% off. It's not too early to start thinking about pool season. Buy now and get on the schedule for install before the rush hits. Only at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt. He's Bryant. I'm Brett. We're Sports Time. We're with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Not out early tonight for any reason. We're with you till 6, and we want you to be a part of our show at 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk number. All our guests will appear at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. 8255. Always in our Family Leisure Studios in this hour, every day brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all the 2025 models, always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the Memphis Grizzlies, who are back in action tonight on the road against the San Antonio Spurs. This Grizzlies team last time out on the road against the Houston Rockets Monday night, a 120-118 loss. It was a fun game. It was very competitive, back and forth, but ultimately the Houston Rockets made more plays down the stretch to secure that win. You look up and you're the Grizzlies and you've lost 4 of your last 6 games. Now we know it has not been an easy stretch. A lot of road games over this last month, really even going back into December. You had those 2 home games in the middle where you split, you beat Dallas, and then you lost to the Houston Rockets. Now 2 more road games before you return home for the MLK Day game against Minnesota, and they're against the San Antonio Spurs, a team that's sitting at 500 right now, 19-19 on the year, but they play much better at home. We know of the superstar Victor Wembanyama and what he does as a rising superstar in this league, what he does not only in the paint, but bringing the ball up, playing on the perimeter, does a little bit of everything. I'm really curious to see how the Grizzlies, what the game plan looks like against him. Who do they match him up against, and what do they decide to run against him? But a big game, a good opportunity for the Grizzlies to get back to their winning ways, but it won't be easy. Again, San Antonio playing much better, 12-8 at home, and it will definitely be tough with that inside presence of Victor Wembanyama.
My top story, Ole Miss, last night with the rare but decisive win at Coleman Coliseum. Now 15-2 losses to Purdue, and at Memphis in the net today, using playing Memphis as any kind of barometer. You got Houston, who the Tigers lost to in Maui. They're up there at number 1, and Ole Miss at 16. Right beneath Ole Miss is Michigan State at 15. So is it that big a spread between 1 and 15 in between them? I think Memphis is in that group between that. I think they've earned that on the court. I know about the metrics in the net, and I know about this hideous league, but also know about what I've seen on the court. And I think that will have to matter in a selection room, watching all the games that week before they reveal the bracket. That will matter. Here's what could happen. Ole Miss and Memphis. I think right now the goal should be Sweet 16. It's not crushing anybody if you don't attain that, but this is where we are. We're now dealing with January 15th cards being dealt.
Yeah.
Not way back in October talking about preseason hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about, right? Don't change the expectations, but the goals can change.
It doesn't mean crush anybody, but along the way, I changed my opinion when the facts change.
Yeah, and that's nothing wrong with that at all, and nothing.
Not top story of the day.
Well, I'm right there with you with my not top story of the day. The college hoops last night, really, really fun. It felt like no matter what channel you had it on, it was a intriguing game. It was, either the superstar power of the 3 freshmen of Duke that all played really well last night against a really, really bad, pathetic Miami team. I mean, they were bad when Jim Larinaga was still the head coach.
Are you still riding the go against the U?
Brett, 0-6 against the spread since Larinaga stepped down, really including his last game against Mount St. Mary's. But kind of ever since the crisis started at Miami, 0-6 against the spread, and nothing changed last night. Duke was awesome in that game. Auburn without Janai Broome looked really good against Mississippi State. They win by 22 points. You already mentioned Ole Miss and their big win, what they did defensively, holding Alabama to 64 points and 28 points in the second half. Alabama, you could see that sense of urgency late in the second half from really everybody on Alabama, but they just could not get good looks. They could not get shots to fall. A massive win for Ole Miss. Mizzou, what they did on the road against Florida, really lighting it up offensively. 50 points in the first half for them. Kentucky rolls again at home. And then, Brett, I didn't mean to ruin Mike Woodson and ruin the day for Indiana yesterday when we talked about him and said that it feels like maybe
we were prescient.
Yeah, I mean, we said it. Maybe the Indiana being the big bad, program of college basketball, that might be over, and last night was pathetic. A 94-69 loss against Illinois at home, where Illinois scored 60 points in the first half. Really bad effort-wise for Indiana. We had a little bit of a brouhaha, if you will, towards the end of that game.
About a sucker punch.
It was, and Omar Ballo, who threw that, was ejected after really showing poor effort throughout the entire game. So Indiana is a mess right now, but Illinois on the other side, they got Yakachunas back, who missed the last 2 games. He's a great player. And then Arizona, you mentioned them a second ago talking about odds. 7 straight wins for them, 5-0 in Big 12 play. Keep an eye on them as they've dropped out of the top 25 in recent weeks.
My not top story, and I mean kind of down there, I don't mean relegated, but it's down there at not top story. Kansas City Chiefs, 8-point favorite at home against Houston. Nobody talking about them. I know they are probably in Kansas City, or Buddy Todd Lebo. I bet they're talking about them, and Soren Petro and all the gang in Kansas City covering it wire to wire, but not nationally. Why? I mean, they're starting the run for a three-peat. It's not a story nationally. Why not the love for Kansas City that we know the Patriots got and that the Cowboys would get if they're doing this? Why not that? Why not for Kansas City? Just out there in middle America, I guess. Kind of boring, but very effective. And if they win this weekend, they're guaranteed being in their 7th straight AFC championship game. Just think about that. 7 straight AFC championship games. If that's not a dynasty, what in the world is?
What do you think it is, Brett? Because they have the superstar quarterback. They have other guys on their team, mainly Travis Kelce.
They got Taylor Swift.
They have Taylor Swift. Are we having fatigue? Is it kind of Chief fatigue?
Here's why I think they're not Dallas.
Right.
But they're not New England.
Nobody's Dallas, Brett.
They're not New England for this. All the producers, all the people at ESPN, at NFL Network, they have a connection to the bigger cities, to New England, to the Giants, maybe even to the Rams. There's not one soul. I bet there's not one at ESPN. Name your team, and they stand up and go, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've never thought about hiring somebody from Middle America.
No chance. That's interesting. think
they all went to Brown and got a humanities degree.
Yeah, and they're
like or Williams College.
They're all either Cowboys or New England Patriots.
If you went to Williams College, you wasted a bunch of money getting a history degree.
Shout out Williams College. I didn't know we were going to name drop them in the first 30 minutes of the show. I don't know if I really know anything about Williams College.
Don't learn.
But shout out.
Like Middlebury.
Oh, yes, Middlebury. That's another one of those schools. Well, I'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we return, we're talking some college football with Coach Tommy West.
Parking lot on Summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwoods. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito, even beef brisket or pork shoulder, and pancake biscuits made fresh daily. Real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwoods even has a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now in 2 locations and open every day for you.
Exercise. The exercise coach is ready for you. Strength training only takes 20 minutes twice a week with special computerized exercise equipment designed to maximize your workouts and minimize your time. The exercise coach gives you personal workouts by one-on-one with a trainer. Check out the exercise coach at exercisecoach.com/Lakeland or exercisecoach.com/Harvard. Injury or knowledge. If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass. Sports56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's trying to build even more in the last few minutes throughout the Midtown area on 240 right at South Parkway, headed down towards Norris. Still not bad right now. 240 as you hop on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway going outbound. Watching it crank up a little bit more volume, but it's moving right now. 240 east and west at Poplar. Weimer's Jewelry serving the Memphis area now for what? Over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, go by and see them. You'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sportstime on Sports56. This hour is brought to you by Exercise. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some college football, Coach Tommy West joins us now. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. We got to talk about these semifinal games we saw last week. And I want to start with what we've seen from Ohio State really since the start of the playoffs. We've talked about it before, but going from that really, a bad loss against Michigan. I know it's a rivalry game, but you look at what they did, really ineffective on both sides of the ball throughout that game. And to come out there against Tennessee in the first round and blow them out, do the same thing against Oregon, and now they're getting ready to play in the national championship game. What have you seen from this Ohio State game since we were all questioning how good of a team they were after the Michigan game to now them standing ready for the final game of the year?
Exactly. I'm not surprised at all at how good they are right now and how good they're playing right now. I'm totally shocked at how they played against Michigan because they've been the most talented team all year in college football, in my opinion. But Michigan, they couldn't move the ball. I don't know what happened in that game, what Michigan did. and it's not like everybody else that's played them hasn't studied that film or that tape from the Michigan to try to slow them down like they did. But they're a talented team that's hitting on all cylinders right now, and I think they're going to be really, really hard to beat.
Coach West, you've been a part of a lot of great rivalries. It gets goofy in rivalry games, and with every passing of that, every second that comes off that clock in that underdog team, and this year in this case it was Michigan, with every passing second, they're closer to pulling off the shocker that ruins people's lives.
You know, we all say, and we've all said that when you get in those games, anybody can win, that they're toss-ups, that you know, I don't know if we really believe that, but that's just one of those games that turned out that way. And and you're exactly right. I mean, Michigan, I'm sure going into the game, they were trying to push it to the fourth quarter.
Get it to the fourth quarter.
If we can get this thing in the fourth quarter, then which any game, if you can get it into the fourth quarter and be within a score, then anybody can win the game. And I'm sure that was their philosophy going into it. And, you know, it certainly worked for them, but not only did they get it into the fourth quarter, but beat them in.
Mm-hmm. And Coach West, I've said I missed it on Notre Dame. I watched some to a lot of their opening game against Texas A&M, and honestly just wrote it off to, you know, more A&M hype and them not being ready. Then the next week or maybe 2 weeks later, it's pretty quickly thereafter that they lost to Northern Illinois. I kind of checked out on Notre Dame, got kind of reinterested in them toward the very end of the year. And what has amazed me, I'm sure there are Notre Dame people out there going, yeah, you big SEC honk. If you'd have been watching them, you'd have noticed it. But I didn't. But I have now. They're just as fast as anybody in the SEC, and they're going to have to be to cover man-to-man those Ohio State wide receivers.
No question. The thing I thought about Notre Dame, I mean, they were playing good. I think we all knew that. But their schedule, they weren't playing the same type of schedule that these other teams were playing, especially in the SEC at that time. So I kind of put them off too, just thinking that, you know, they're a pretty good team, but when they get and have to start really playing some strong competition, that they're going to have a hard time. They haven't now, but the thing about the game the other night with Penn State, Notre Dame made the mistake to lose the game. Riley Leonard throws the pick. He threw the first pick there late in the game to lose the game. Then Penn State came back and threw their pick to lose it. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, I know they've played great defense. I'm a Riley Leonard fan. I like him. I think he's a really good player. He can beat you with his arm or with his legs. But I don't know that even though they're playing good on defense, I just don't know if anybody right now can stop Ohio State.
Yeah, if Ohio State's hitting with that passing game, and I love the run to set up the pass, but they almost do it a little bit different now. Against Texas, the run game was straight ahead with Henderson and Judkins. I mean, it was straight ahead, and I like that. I don't think these very talented teams, you can do much trying to go wide, and then you saw what happened to Texas when they tried to go wide on the goal line. You got to line up and pound them.
But why Texas comes out in the second half handing the ball straight downhill, and they're having success running the ball, and then all of a sudden they get down on the goal line, and, you know, we kind of forget that too, is that, I mean, Texas has got a chance to score and send that game into overtime. But anyway, for whatever reason, they decided to go sideways, and you can't do that against those teams. I've watched it in the semifinals, in these games, in those two games there with Penn State and with Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State, Notre Dame. You can't go sideways against those people. They're too fast.
Have you ever had to get on the headphones and tell what place you were head coach, and tell your offensive coordinator, whoever's in the booth, keep running the ball straight ahead?
Absolutely. Absolutely I have. And it's funny, you know, offensive coaches are really funny. They have those big old sheets and you know, and sometimes I think they use them just to cover their mouth with, but they've got these big old sheets and they got all these plays, and so they run a play and it works. and then they got it, but they can't run it again because they got to go to the next play. They got too many plays. The guy that was the greatest at repeating plays was Steve Spurrier, and you kind of knew it. I've coached against him being a defensive coordinator at South Carolina a couple times, and if he had a run that hit, you could about bet you're going to see it again next one or two plays. He was not afraid to repeat plays. A lot of these guys now, they get something going that works. Man, feed it. If you got something going that works, you got to feed them.
I so agree, Coach West. And I tell you, two old schoolers, SEC, that love to pound the rock. Johnny Majors and Pat Dye run the same play every play.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question. We did that one year down in South Florida and handed the same play off 6 times in a row and scored with it. Of course, we had D'Angelo running the ball.
That's a good one to give it to.
Well, you know what I figured? It's like when you got a great pass rusher and all of a sudden they run a zone blitz and they drop that great pass rusher into coverage. And the other team's going to thank you for not rushing him right now. Mm-hmm. Every time we didn't run D'Angelo, I'm sure the other team was going, gee, appreciate you guys not running him.
And he was like all the classic great backs. He was better on that 27th carry than he was on the 7th carry.
But why it seems like college football has gotten away from that, and I guess a lot of the RPO stuff has maybe taken some of it out of having a great back that just gets stronger and stronger. And the great ones do. Man, they get stronger. The 2-yard runs, the 3-yard runs, the 4-yard runs. In the fourth quarter, they're 6-yard runs, 7-yard runs, 8-yard runs, and you've just worn people down with it by pounding. But, we don't get to see a whole lot of that anymore. That's like Ohio State, though. I mean, their back, I thought was great at Ole Miss, and, they got 2 of them. They got him and the other kid.
Yeah. Oh, he was great at Ole Miss, and I tell you something, he just never, ever, ever does. He does not fumble. Quinshon Judkins will not turn it over.
He's a tough kid now. I watch him run, and he is a tough guy with skills.
Mm-hmm. Coach, what have you thought of the job Marcus Freeman's done? I mean, a young guy, getting that head coaching role and has really done a terrific job at Notre Dame, and now an opportunity to win the national championship in a couple days.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I don't know him, but I really enjoy listening to him talk. He's obviously a smart guy. Mm-hmm. He knows and man, does he handles himself like a champ all the time, and you can tell he's taught his guys. His guys have bought in that it's a team deal. It's not me, it's not you. This is a team deal. We're all part of this team, and they bought into his system and making it work.
So, Coach West, I was watching that game, and they showed one of those cutaway shots from the coaching booth for Notre Dame, and they were really showing the offensive coordinator. But kind of out of the corner of my eye, I saw a guy said, and Coach West, you have been great to us this year, and we want you back next week. We want you back next year, and you may hang up on me after I mention this name. But I said, is that who I thought it was? So I got the book out and looked up their coaching staff. Their quarterback's coach at Notre Dame, Gino Guidugli.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's a cuss word in your house, isn't it?
Well, I really appreciate you bringing it up. I hadn't thought about it in a good while, but yeah, golly, I had no idea. I didn't even know that he was coaching, much less at Notre Dame coaching quarterback.
And he and Danny Wimprine, they got in a shootout one time.
Absolutely. Those two went at it. He was a really good player, Man, that league, I'm telling you, I go back through now, just sitting around thinking about the league when I first got in the Conference USA. It was unbelievable.
It sure was.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, from Cincinnati, Louisville, South Florida,
East Carolina,
Houston, TCU, East Carolina. I mean, it was a great – we faced a really, really good quarterback every week. We would face one.
And the defenses – am I right? I might have my years off. Didn't Rex Ryan run the Bearcat defense for a while?
I can't remember that. I don't know.
It might have been 90s. It might have been in the 90s when he was there. But Rick Minner was a good coach. I mean, it was –
Rick Minner, really good. Rick's out with the L.A. Chargers. As a matter of fact, his son's the D coordinator at the Chargers. It was just a fantastic league.
Coach Tommy West joins us every single Wednesday to talk college football. The news came out earlier today. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers has declared for the NFL draft. What did you think about his time at Texas, especially this season, and how do you view him as an NFL prospect?
I thought he had a really good year. I was disappointed when I saw that today. I just kept in the back of my mind, something kept telling me that he was gonna stay and transfer and go to Georgia and be Georgia's quarterback, just like Beck when Beck left. But I think he's making the right decision. That's a tough job he had this year with Arch Manning sitting there and everybody, and the thing was Arch played well when he was hurt. But man, you talk about pressure sitting right behind you. You can't make too many mistakes. So I thought he had a really good year, and I thought he played well, and I think he'll have a shot at the league.
Great point by you, Coach West. We all know the most popular player on the team to the fans is the backup quarterback. And when he's named Manning, it is.
Oh, my God. Well, has there ever been one that was the backup before?
Very rarely.
But, yeah, I mean, isn't that something? Everybody loves the backup quarterback. That's what I want to come back as. I don't ever want to be the starter. I just want to be the backup.
Now, I want to be Babe Laufenberg, be the clipboard quarterback for Troy Aikman, be a decent guy around town, and then be the analyst on Cowboys radio for 30 years.
Sounds like a good life to live. Coach, what's your prediction for Monday night in the national championship game?
Oh, I think Ohio State will win the game. I don't look for it to be really low scoring with them. Man, this is their last chance to shine with these guys. And the one thing I do think is that Ohio State's quarterback is better than I ever gave you credit for. I guess because all the surrounding talent's so good. But that guy can make plays too. And I look for Ohio State to win the game and score points.
Coach, this may be better next week if they win. Ohio State wins, but I'm going to get it in this week so in case they don't. If they do win, they win kind of going away. Win, 38-14. Win comfortably. Okay, they had the slip up against the big rival in the off season, and I know human nature would almost walk you into this, but if you're Ryan Day, do you go to those golf tournament outings? You go to those Buckeye clubs? Do you kind of, pardon the phrase, do you plant the flag a little bit and go, yeah, y'all wanted me fired and we're national champions? Or do you just take it as part of the rub of the green of being in big-time college coaching?
I think he'll take it. It's just part of it and move on. But now he'll get his chance to throw in a couple of little snide remarks, I'm sure.
Yeah, and sure.
Because you don't forget, but you try to hide it. You try to act like nothing bothered you. And you got back on it. And, we got one from Memphis, Tim Walton that was on our staff 2 different times at Memphis as the defensive back coach at Ohio State.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So we got another guy there.
A little bit of a connection there. Well, Coach, as always, thanks so much for joining us.
So
and we'll
much.
talk to you again next week.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Tommy West joining us every week to talk some college football. He's got
Brian,
Ohio State winning it all.
In Tiger football lore, you know the place of Gino Guidugli, don't you?
Yes, okay. I do. I've heard a couple stories.
I'm going to say that game might have been Coach West's first year as head coach, or was he still D coordinator? I'd have to look, but yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah,
the Tigers were about to turn the corner and start going to bowls, and that loss kept them out.
Wow. So, yeah, a blast from the past for Coach Tommy West.
But I swear, I saw a cutaway shot, and I looked at it and went, that's him.
It's one of those jump out of the chair reactions.
Yeah.
There he is. That's funny. Well, we love having Coach on every single week. Let's go ahead and get to another break. And when we come back, the Grizzlies, they're back in action tonight on the road in San Antonio. We'll talk about tonight's matchup and what we expect to see tonight from the Grizzlies. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat of your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for your loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. And it only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialists, they're going to fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration's guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Go to LifeLock.com. Save up to 40% on your first year if you use the promo code HERD. 40% off. HERD at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 912-715-5199.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
We're back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We got to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. They're back in action tonight on the road against San Antonio. Last night we got a status report from Grizzlies PR out tonight. We know the usual suspects: Vince Williams Jr., Cam Spencer, Marcus Smart, probable Jay Huff with left knee soreness. But I bring this up because G.G. Jackson I did not mention as being out. He is listed as out tonight, but next to his name and out, NBA G League assignment. So it sounds like G.G. Jackson will play with the hustle tonight as he continues to ramp back up and get ready to get back with this Grizzlies team. That's great news, meaning that he is very close to rejoining this team, and certainly the Grizzlies could use that.
Right, I love the DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal take when he joins us of on anything trade, just hold your fire a little bit, slow down a little bit, and let's see who they get back and how they perform.
Yeah.
And we chuckle a lot of times at our beloved Cardinals of, whether it's hiring a manager, we just walk down the hall and the best guy available is who we needed to hire instead of doing any kind of hiring search. And then at trade deadline, we just got to get people well. That's better than anybody we could get in a trade. Mm-hmm. It's accurate here. Hold off a little bit and see what you have, getting them acclimated back and what they can give this team because as it's currently composed, it can go deep in the playoffs. I don't think it can win it all. I don't think it can get to the finals. With these guys coming back, let's see what you have and then what you have to add to see if you can make a win, winning the West and representing the West in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I thought it was a good point by DeMichael because we have not seen G.G. Jackson, and really we haven't seen Vince Williams. I know he's been active for a couple games, but he was injured to start the season. He came back for a couple games, and then he was right back out with an injury. We have not seen these two guys play with this Grizzlies team as a whole because of all the injuries. We know what they did last year when everyone was out.
And we've never seen them really in an important game.
Exactly. And so I'm definitely with the idea of let these guys get back, see how they play, and maybe that's what you need. We know Vince Williams and what he can do on the defensive end of the court and knock down threes. I mean, he is the 3-and-D type of guy and can maybe fill that role that you want out of a Cam Johnson, and you wouldn't have to give up anything to get him because you already have him on your team. So, no, I'm definitely in the camp of let's wait and see what these guys can bring to this roster as they come back from injury.
The Spurs with a 3-game losing streak. They're 15-14 against Western Conference teams this year. The Grizzlies 3-4 in division play, same division as the Spurs. So got them tonight, have them again tomorrow night.
Friday night.
Friday night, day off tomorrow, and then play again on Friday night. And going to San Antonio for Memphis, like it's been for most people the last 25 years, has been a house of horrors. Just when you think it's going to get a little bit easier, they get Wembanyama.
Yes, and we know, I mean, what he is already becoming as a NBA superstar, and really the Spurs kind of in a similar boat to the Grizzlies in terms of what their schedule has been in recent weeks and all of the travel that they've had to do. You go back to all the way back to Monday, December 23rd, when they started a 4-game road stand. Since then, since December 23rd, they have only played 2 home games. So they've been on the road a ton. They'll be back at home for back-to-back games against the Grizzlies, and they've really struggled on the road. You talked about that 3-game losing streak. It's been a lot of losses on the road, but they've been a lot better when they're at home, a little more comfortable, and so I'll be interested to see what they show tonight at home and who the Grizzlies put on Victor Wembanyama. I mean, I would guess it's going to be Jaren and try to match that size and what both those guys can do both inside and outside. But we'll see how they match up. Could be foul trouble early. It could, and that's kind of the danger you fall into is. Who really are you going to get to guard up against Victor?
That's the whole league asking that.
Yeah, and that's the
what do we do?
The fear of this guy's only in his second year of being in the NBA.
And he's already to that point. Okay, go ahead, give him his and limit the rest.
Yeah, and you're seeing them do that a lot. And I mean, he's a guy that will bring the ball up the court a ton and, has that.
That's almost not fair.
No. I mean, having that background of playing in
pull up and shoot a dagger 3.
I mean, it's what we see with a lot of these European guys, but he's just way taller than them and a lot more slender and can almost play that point guard role. But no, I mean, this is a game that the Grizzlies should have a really good opportunity to go down and win. I don't know what the line is for tonight's game, but this is a very winnable game for the Grizzlies.
It is Memphis -2.5, over and under 239.5.
Okay, interesting. Brad, as you know, I stay away from the totals in the NBA.
It's really smart. As I said the other day, I would play on the ice out in traffic with razor blades before I tried to take on a life of making money betting NBA over and unders.
No, it doesn't seem like a fun game to play at all. But no, I mean, I think Grizzlies.
It's a good way to shoot your TV out, like Elvis.
That's right. Yeah, full Elvis style there. But right now,
they've got them. They've got them down.
Oh man, I mean, hey, Vegas, they know how to.
They're
make
not
money.
doing this for funsimes.
No, they're not going to go broke anytime soon. Very serious about it. Extremely.
It's really
serious.
For keeps.
Yes.
I mean, I don't imagine the odds. The guy that sets the odds stays very long if he's getting whipped.
Yes. No. They know exactly.
Game 41 for the Grizzlies tonight. Game note says game 41. We know 41 to go after tonight. How'd that happen?
Yeah, that's really hard to believe. That happened in a blink of an eye.
I guess we're having that much fun because it's really flying by. I know I'm having that much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I guess after what last season was and having everybody back this year, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. And you look up and Grizzlies.
What's
still
San Antonio's goal? What do you think is a season win for them at the end? Just make the playoffs?
Oh yeah. I mean, if they can make the play,
that's not Memphis.
That's huge.
That's not ours.
No. Memphis's goal is way higher than that. But certainly, if the Spurs can get into the play-in, if they can make the playoffs this year, that's huge.
What's the Grizzlies? Just win a series?
I don't know.
Win 2 series, you're in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I don't know. Goal, I would say yes, would probably be win a series with this group. But I mean,
they're crush proof if they do what? Nobody local, near, far can crush them.
Yeah, I think win a series.
Win a series.
Because, last year with all the injuries, the year before that, a first-round exit, it's been a while since you've made it out of the first round.
I know most people don't want to hear this and don't want to think about the economics of it. But if you win a series, that means you're playing in another one that you lose. You win that first series, you're going to get probably 3 or 4 home games. Mm-hmm. Same in the second one. Let's say 5 total. That's big profit to a front office.
Yeah. Huge. That's a really good point. So, no, I definitely think the goal should be win a series, and we'll see. And right now, sitting in the 3rd seed right now, we know a lot of time left, and that will change a ton. But currently behind 2 other young teams, the Houston Rockets and the OKC Thunder. We'll see how it all plays out tonight.
I just got to go Grizz for Rob Fisher. Text him earlier today. Need to win tonight. Hope you're well. Enjoy SA, San Antonio. Love Riverwalk and all the queso and guacamole. Go Grizz, Brett. Just got to go Grizz back from
Go
him.
Grizz. That's great. I love that. Rob already ready for tonight's broadcast.
Ready. I promise you he's ready.
That does not surprise me, Brett. Not at all. Let's go ahead and wrap up this first hour and get to a break. When we come back, talking some more college football. David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, he joins us next.
This is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Consumer example, stock number RZ307440, MSRP 82085, dealer discount 7425, purchase allowance 2750, sale price 71910, expires 3325.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon, T-Dot. Those help trucks are scattered up and down 240, helping with a couple of disabled vehicles within the last hour. Over here around Airways, Getwell, traffic still moving right now as you come off 240 on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. It won't be long before it gets a little bit busier through the Midtown area, especially I-40 going westbound at Danny Thomas, headed back across the Hernando de Soto Bridge. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. They want you to know they are your Valentine's Day headquarters. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. The Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. Once again, Brett Rosary and Ryan Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our second hour, and joining us like he does every Wednesday afternoon, David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, joins us now to talk some college football. And David, let's go ahead and get right into it and talk about what we saw last week with the semifinal games. Let's start with the first one. Took place Thursday night. Penn State and Notre Dame battled it out. It was a low-scoring, back-and-forth game until the fourth quarter when really both offenses showed up. Ultimately, Notre Dame gets the win. What did you see from both those teams in the semifinals?
Yeah, and as always, thank you guys so much for having me. Congratulations to Notre Dame and to Marcus Freeman for really getting this team and this program in a position to be able to return to the national championship game. I know Brian Kelly led the Irish there one time. I know he said this week that he's really rooting for Notre Dame. That's the right thing for him to do. I'm glad that he came out and said that. But great for Marcus Freeman to be able to get into this position. You know, my biggest takeaway from watching these games last week was sort of how poor the quarterback play was all around. And we had just done a segment on our show at Crane and Company the day before the playoff game started on which quarterback we trusted the most. I ended up taking Riley Leonard for Notre Dame just because I thought he might not have to put the football through the air as much as the other guys. And with Notre Dame's running attack and his ability to really chew up yards and the clock in the run game with his legs, that was my pick and that was my thought process. But the way that those guys put the football in harm's way, I was not surprised because we've seen it, you know, throughout the season from them at times, but thought there was just a lot of sloppy play. But for Notre Dame to be able to be down 10, right, to be able to win that football game, I mean, for Riley Leonard not even to lead the Irish to any offensive points in the first half, the backup quarterback comes in, they kick a field goal, they get on the board. To make the halftime adjustments the way they did was truly incredible. And that's multiple times this season that we've seen James Franklin be up by 10 points on a superior or favored, I guess I should say, opponent and lose both of those football games. So it's tough for Penn State. I understand their frustrations with James Franklin, but hey, you made the Final Four. Life could be a lot worse. You got to figure out a way to build off of that this offseason.
Mm-hmm. My favorite play in that game, you know, we see the highlights of all the long runs, 40, 50, 60, 70-yard runs. My favorite plays was that 2-yard touchdown run by Jeremiah Love. Big old bulky knee brace on and a bucket full of guts to get in that end zone. It was one of the best plays of the year. 2-yard touchdown.
What a run, man. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to play with Mike Hart at the University of Michigan, and that's what he was so great at. Did. Mike Hart, you know, it wasn't an 80-yard touchdown for Mike Hart that made him so special. It was a 2-yard loss that somehow he was able to turn into a 2-yard gain. And you look at it, it's like, well, that was only a 2-yard pickup for the offense, but really that's a 4-yard pickup because he was hitting the backfield. And Mike was so great at doing that, turning 2-yard gains then into 6-yard gains somehow, keeping his feet moving. I completely agree with you. Not only an awesome touchdown, but for a guy we didn't know if he would play or not, he comes out there in the leg brace to be able to perform like that. That's the greatness of the sports stage. You're able to push your body physically beyond what you think you're capable of and perform at the national level like that.
David, this year, I think the whole season in college football could fairly be described as it was not the year of the quarterback. Are we seeing the slow progress of the importance of a run game? Is it returning? Run game from running backs, not just quarterback power.
Sure, that's what's so great about the game of football is the evolution of schematics is cyclical, right? I'm seeing there's so many of this complicated shotgun run pass option that's being run when really it's just a fancy version of the wing T
No doubt.
the split bone oftentimes. And we ran a condensed wishbone in my high school. It doesn't get any simpler than that. I'm not seeing that too often other than like at the goal line for specialty situations. But my point still remains, and you're exactly right. I don't think that that's necessarily here to stay. I think what's happened is this is more of just a down year for quarterback play. And look, everything compared to last year is going to be a down year. 6 of those guys went in the top 12 picks, and almost all of them are starting except for J.J. McCarthy for the Vikings because he got injured. I think last year's NFL draft class will be comparable to that famous 1984 class with Dan Marino and John Elway and Jim Kelly and all those guys. Only time will tell on that front. But I think that this year's class is down. That's why you've seen things like Quinn Ewers announcing today that he is going to go to the NFL. But there's also an aspect of this that the last 3 national champions, all right, Michigan and Georgia twice, have both been run-first teams that play very, very stout defense. The defensive side of the football leads the team, and those 3 teams won national championships. That's always been an identity that you can rely on in this game, in this sport. You can't always have Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and be the 2019 LSU Tigers, right? When you have that, great. That's a very special season. Maybe the greatest college football team of all time. But what you can rely on is playing strong defense, running the football to set up the pass, chewing up the clock, and that sort of brings us to an interesting point about this national championship. I know that you guys are going to get to it, but that is the Notre Dame identity, and they're going to have to lean into that if they want to pull this upset off.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Quinn Ewers and his decision officially that he's going to go to the NFL draft. There was a lot of conversation and rumors that maybe he could come back. There was rumors about some of the figures that maybe people were offering him to return to college. What do you make of his decision to decide to go and test his luck in the draft?
We had a very lively discussion today on Crane & Company. I would encourage everyone to go watch that. You can find it on YouTube. You can download it as a podcast. You can find it on dailywireplus.com. My co-host, Jake Crane, said this is great for Quinn Ewers. Get while the getting is good, as they say. Go to the NFL. Try your hand there because of the down quarterback class like we're talking about. This isn't a season ago, and who knows what the class might look like a year from now, depending on how those guys play and who decides to come out and stay. When you're talking about, you got Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders, and then people start bringing up like Jalen Milroe or Kyle McCord. Yeah, if you're Quinn Ewers, like you could fit right in and go to the NFL. I am of the perspective of no. Like, he needs to return to college football. I understand the class not being as deep as it usually is at the quarterback position, but at the same time, the game of college has changed significantly. I mean, first of all, with Quinn Ewers, he hasn't even made it through an entire college season without injury. You don't go to the next level and get less fragile. Now, if you're going to say, well, he could get hurt this year, or like a running back, for instance, I wouldn't give the same advice to a running back to come back for another year and take more of a pounding in the run game. But I think that Michael Penix Jr. at Washington a year ago was a great example. Quinn Ewers could follow that track. Michael Penix Jr. dealt with so many injuries when he was at Indiana. He goes to Washington, stays healthy for 2 full seasons, throws for 9,000 total yards, is a top 10 pick to the Falcons, and he ended the season as their starter. I think that Quinn Ewers could sort of set that example. But that aside, even if you disagree with that aside, the college game is so different now. If we were talking about this topic when I played, I'd say, yeah, if you can play in the NFL, go. That was always one of my dreams. I'd love to be a 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round pick. Wherever they'll take me, I'll go. But in today's game, you are a professional football player. Carson Beck just left Georgia to go to the Miami Hurricanes. He might make more playing for the Miami Hurricanes than he would have playing for the Miami Dolphins next season. So, Quinn Ewers, you are an NIL giant, whether it's at Texas or whether they want to move on to Arch Manning and you go someplace else. Everyone's always hungry for a competent quarterback who has as many snaps as Quinn Ewers does. Go get paid a lot of money and stay in college for, at this point, 12 years they'll let you play. But then thirdly, Blaine on our show today brought up, well, this could be an NIL play, right? We saw Cam Ward a year ago declare for the NFL draft. Miami was able to get him out of the draft, paid him a bunch of NIL money, even though he didn't play the second half of that bowl game. I won't go there again with you guys. But that could be what's going on here, too. There's a lot of cat and mouse. There's a lot of games being played in this era of college football. Maybe Quinn Ewers announced so that someone will offer him more NIL money, some desperate college football team, so that he can come out of the draft and return to college football.
David Cohn with us talking college football from Crane and Company. He co-hosts with the Crane brothers. He's with us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's with us every Wednesday, and it has been so much fun all year. All right, that last minute and a half, 2 minutes that we were talking about Quinn Ewers, let's take Quinn Ewers' name out and insert Jackson Dart's name in it. Is it copy and paste? Is it the same?
Man, I really don't think it is, and maybe I'm just a little more bullish on Jackson Dart than I should be. But now we're not talking about a guy who's gotten injured every single season. I mean, we're talking about a guy, and also, not that the last two games matter that much in the grand scheme of being recruited. It's not like how it was with my father-in-law, Richard Todd, for instance. I've told the story so many times. He was projected to be like a 5th or 6th round pick back in the 70s, and then all of a sudden has a great game against Auburn, has a great Sugar Bowl performance, gets invited to the Senior Bowl, has a great Senior Bowl. He's the MVP. And then all of a sudden he's the number 6 overall pick to the New York Jets. So it's a different age now where the scouts are full-time and they're examining your entire body of work. So I think they would do that with Quinn Ewers and not just say, man, these last couple games for Quinn at Texas, that's really done him in. That's not my point, but Jackson Dart has ended the season to me on such a high note. He has so much momentum. If he was able to go and participate in something like the Senior Bowl to really just showcase his skills, I think he's another name that he has a chance to be a great pro. I'm reluctant a little bit just because I said the same exact thing about Matt Corral. Matt Corral is one of my favorite college football players of all time. You want to talk about moxie? That guy had it. I don't know how all Ole Miss fans feel about him, but I can imagine there's a lot out there that still really love Matt Corral. The fact that he hasn't really been given that shot to be, a franchise guy in the NFL, maybe Jackson Dart's looking at that and saying, you know what, maybe I could just return to college and keep playing, and we do copy and paste the NIL thing. I'm going to make a lot of money. But again, I still think that Jackson Dart has a chance to be a solid pro or at least get a shot on one of those teams.
Well, Matt had such a setback with that Liz Frank injury when his foot was crushed by one of his own offensive linemen stepping on it, I think, in his very first preseason game with the Panthers. It just set him back so much. But you're right about you know the Jackson Dart story, David, very well. He did not miss a play at Ole Miss, but always out there and, have subbed late in some blowouts, but played hurt. He probably should have been taken out of the Peach Bowl after the first series with the hit he took of that and went back in. You couldn't keep him out of there. You're
talking about the Peach Bowl a season ago, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, that hit.
He got hurt on the second play of the game.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, that was a great example of where the dynamic of that game was going to be completely different. And it was for the Buckeyes. Remember the Buckeyes in their bowl game, and they lose their starting quarterback. They end up having to go to number 33, the kid who came in, ends up not being able to perform. That was a whole situation, but I'm so glad you brought up the Peach Bowl because that was an example where I thought, man, it must be something in the water, in the DNA of these Ole Miss quarterbacks. And I know Jackson Dart transferred in, but still, he's an Ole Miss guy. And they always just seem to produce gamers at the position, which, honestly, you guys know a little bit how I feel about Lane Kiffin. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of the way he goes about his business, but I do think it says something about him, the way that these quarterbacks are gamers, the way that they're able to perform in situations like you're talking about, and the fact that they play in these bowl games when they could sit out. Now, they're not in quite an exact situation that some guys are where they're like the consensus number one pick, and so it's a little bit different. But even still, I mean, we're seeing guys at other universities who they're projected just to be a 5th or 6th round pick. You know what? I think I'll sit out the bowl game since it's not the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin's quarterbacks don't really do that, man. So for that, I have a lot of respect.
Yeah. talking college football with David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company. He joins us every week throughout the college football season. And Dave, let's go back to the semifinals and go to the second game that was Ohio State and Texas. We just talked about Quinn Ewers, his decision to go to the NFL draft. But what did you see from this Ohio State team? I mean, they have been on quite the run after that loss to Michigan to end the regular season. What they've done since the start of the playoffs has been really impressive. They did it again in the semifinals and now stand at the final game.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised that the Buckeyes beat Texas by 14. What I'm surprised is that they won by 2 touchdowns with the performance that Texas's defense put up and the way that they were able to keep contained so much on the Buckeyes and then not really deliver on the offensive side of the ball. The plan that Texas had, and it's not just in the secondary, it's not just in the defensive front seven, the total package of the defensive plan that Texas had, to be able to contain Jeremiah Smith the way they did without affecting the resources that they needed to really, stop contain, I guess is the right word, the Buckeyes' run game for the most part. That's what I was most impressed with the way we've seen Jeremiah Smith just absolutely dominate this college football playoff. He was a non-factor for most of that game. And when we were live streaming it, we didn't even say his name for hours after hours because Texas was able to contain him while also not just getting gashed down after down in the run game. Now, the 75-yard screen, bad play. And it's not just that was a big gainer. I mean, sometimes you just catch guys in a screen. Sometimes you catch guys blitzing late. It was a bad play for the start from Texas. But again, if you give up 15, you give up 25, even if you give up 35 in that scenario, it's bad enough, but you have to figure out a way to make that tackle after the big game so that it's not a 75-yard touchdown. That's what really hurt Texas. But again, even that could have been overcome the way that Texas's defense played and was able to force a turnover on Will Howard. That's going to be a big key for this national championship coming up. But Texas on offense, I mean, it's just it's been up and down. It's been rocky. Because I went to watch Texas and Michigan play early in the season, and say what you will about some of the ineptitude from Michigan on offense this year, that defense is solid. They're going to have multiple first-round picks. Wink Martindale at defensive coordinator. I watched Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers for 3 hours carve that defense to pieces. So when I watched them play Georgia early in the season in Austin, I almost couldn't believe my eyes. When I saw Georgia's offense the second time against Georgia in the SEC championship game, despite having some big plays, from 20-yard to 20-yard line, not being able to convert and score in the red zone the way they were, again, I couldn't believe my eyes. Then they come out on this Clemson defense and rush for 292, right? And then like sort of get back on track against Arizona State, but then that game goes to double overtime. It was very up and down. I just, the red zone there at the very end, calling the pitch play out wide. I know that's been sort of the main focus after the game that people are talking about. It was a terrible call. And if it's one of those situations, if that works and you score a touchdown, you're able to set the edge, no one really talks about it. I'm of the mindset like a call is bad no matter if it works or not. It's the wrong call. And just at the 1 yard line, man, I'm just going to see if I can run it in the A gap, the B gap, the C gap, wherever my best offensive lineman is. Let's just run it behind him multiple times before we try anything else. And, you have to tip your hat to the Buckeyes after that loss to Michigan, the way that they've responded and the way that Jack Sawyer especially, that huge play on Quinn Ewers to run that back for a touchdown. And I found out after that those guys used to be roommates when they were when Quinn Ewers was still at OSU. I think Jake pitched the idea that should be on the Netflix show Bad Roommates or whatever that thing's called. But yeah, I will say at least those games delivered some very competitive and compelling football because we live streamed both of them from Mission Cigar in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and we certainly had a blast.
You know who's looking much better than in the immediacy of it, certainly during that game? Indiana's margin of defeat against Notre Dame's now holding up pretty good.
Well, not only that, but who are the two losses that Indiana had to?
Yeah.
The two teams playing in the national championship, boys. I mean, I don't know what else you want to say about them other than that.
That's right. And now I know you're not pulling for Ohio State Monday night, but can Notre Dame pull it off? Can they win the game?
what I've been telling people is I just can't sit there and pull for the biggest rival of my alma mater.
Understood. We don't expect it.
At the same time, there would be something that would be kind of nice to be able to say, well, my team beat the national champion. I don't know what else y'all want Michigan to do other than beat the national champion. So there could be an element of that would be a lot of fun in the off season. More or less what I'm hoping for is just another good football game. You know, I love this sport so much, and I thought the 12-team playoff in the inaugural year was very, very exciting at times, especially like leading up to it. Yes, we had some playoff blowouts, but I just saw a lot of those in the NFL last weekend too. It's sort of like when you seed things the way that they've been seeded, that happens. Again, we'll talk about the 12-team playoff and all the things that should happen and could happen and all that in the off season. But for this game coming up, yeah, look, it's no secret that the path to victory is easier for the Buckeyes than it is for Notre Dame. Anyone who's watched a little bit of college football understands that. Have all these playmakers on the outside for the Buckeyes, have two NFL running backs. Your quarterback is able to deliver not only in the pass game but also in the run game. And then you also have great defensive players as well. And Jim Knowles, I think the coordinators are as good as it gets with Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles. And so the path to victory for Notre Dame is, okay, how effectively can we run the football? And our defense leads the nation in takeaways and points off takeaways. We've got to figure out a way to get Will Howard to throw us the football. What's the best way for that to happen? Is it pressure? Is it constant pressure? Do you run the risk of him finding his hot route to Jeremiah Smith and it's an 80-yard touchdown on an arrow route like they scored against Oregon? They have weapons all over the field. If you lock him down, what do you do with Mbuka? If you lock Mbuka down, what are you going to do with Quinshon Junkins and Travion Henderson out of the backfield on rail routes? And they played them both in the game at the same time a lot in the semifinal, which I thought was interesting. Notre Dame's defense is going to have to pitch near a perfect game. And then on the offensive side of the football, if running the ball is Notre Dame's MO, which it is, you have to do that effectively. That includes Riley Leonard in the run game. And I feel a lot more confident about Notre Dame's ability to at least make it interesting based off the way that we've talked about them being built. If Riley Leonard didn't also have a turnover tendency himself, which he'll throw you the football. He really will. So no turnovers from Riley Leonard. Find a way to run the football consistently and don't abandon the run game if it's not working early. And then on defense, just get as close as you possibly can to pitching a perfect game, which Texas did a great job, and Michigan pitched a perfect game against the Buckeyes in that 13-10. You have precedent. Go watch everything that Texas was able to do. One last point here. Texas, a lot of zone coverage against Will Howard. That gave him a lot of problems. Michigan, again, was mixing in zone pressures. Notre Dame, mostly a man team on defense. Do you stick with your identity that got you here in man coverage, or are you going to do what has been a weakness for the other team and show a lot of zone coverage looks? They're probably going to have to mix a lot of it up, but let's just hope that we get a good football game.
Yeah, hopefully it's a fun one, and we'll see how it all shakes out Monday night. David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David. David Cohn with us every week talking college football. We'll wrap it up. Regular visits next week, but it has been a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So we gave basketball odds for March. Okay. Are you ready for next year in college football?
Next year?
Next year.
I didn't know those were already out.
Odds to win it all for 2025.
Wow. Brett, I'll tell you this. I love odds that come out before the previous season's national championship game.
Before we even know rosters.
Exactly. Well, oh, man.
That's really smart people, isn't it?
Trying to bet on a team to win this early in this era of college football. Oh, man. That is a...
I couldn't go any worse than 0-6,
risky,
could I?
That's true. I mean, you're just throwing darts at that point, literally.
Next year, who leads? Texas, 9-2, plus 450. Georgia, 11-2, as well as Ohio State, that's plus 550. Then Oregon, 7-1. Penn State, 10-1. Alabama and Notre Dame, 16-1. The U and UT, Tennessee, 18-1. Clemson, 20-1. LSU, 22-1. Clemson and LSU play opening weekend next year.
Oh, wow.
At 25-1. So I don't need to get blistered at the text line and on Twitter about being an Ole Miss homer because the smartest people in the world that post odds have Ole Miss at 25-1. That's 11th best odds for next year.
Yeah, wow.
So,
yeah,
blame it on Vegas.
Yeah, it's not you making the odds.
A&M 33-1, Michigan, South Carolina 40-1, Florida 50-1, Kansas State, Oklahoma, and USC 66-1, Arizona State, Auburn, SMU 75-1, then a whole host of people at 100-1, and down to Arkansas at 200-1. I'd take that. They have a winning season. Mississippi State 500-1, about the same thing.
Yeah.
Memphis and Navy. What do you think they are? It's the same odds for Memphis and Navy.
Oh man, I have no clue.
1,000-1.
Oh, I was gonna say 1,000-1, bro. I promise you, I was just about to say that. Oh
wow.
Man,
Colorado State 1,000-1.
CSU, the Rams.
Washington State 1,000-1. Washington State comes to Oxford.
Did
next year.
miss Colorado? Are the Buffs in there?
That's a good question.
Dion's group post Shador and Travis?
Nowhere to be found.
Wow.
Not listed.
Maybe we're not posting Colorado odds until until
Wait
the Dallas
to see what
Cowboy position is filled and see if he's going to be with the team next year.
Wake Forest 1,000-1. Boy,
wow.
They'll cancel the game if you play them.
It's true. That is true. Yeah, give me odds on Wake Forest to cancel a game or cancel a series. Those are the odds I want.
Just $10 you'd have to waste on any of those I just named. Anything grab you?
Not this early. Certainly
Clemson,
not.
20-1. Clubbing it back.
That's good odds. Yeah.
And Dabo.
Yeah. But at least the
ACC.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, with those guys coming back, they are going to be the clear favorites to win that conference. But at least the book's saying the Horns are back next year, Brett. I mean, Texas is back.
The magazines and the books love off-season Texas.
Who doesn't love off-season Texas?
July 4th, Texas. They're dominant.
They're the best. That's when they're really back, on July 4th.
July 4th. That's when they're really stout.
Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, we've talked a lot of college football. We talked some college basketball to start the show. We're going to talk a lot more, a lot of big games last night, some good games tonight, and Tigers back in action tomorrow night on the road against Temple. We'll talk all of that next on Sports Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family of berries still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news. A CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Sports56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Wrapping up this wreck on Bill Morris Parkway eastbound in Hacks Cross Road. It was out here long enough to clog up this traffic here on 385 Bill Morris Parkway as you head out towards Collierville. Hopefully we'll get the movement here a little bit better in the next few minutes, but it's already timed out where it's heavy coming off 240 onto 385 Bill Morris Parkway going outbound. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you, and we got to talk some college basketball. A really good night of hoops last night. We talked about some of the bigger games and also what it meant for Memphis to just sit there and relax before hitting the road against Temple, and you have Ole Miss with a big win, Mizzou with a big win, and you just get to sit there and watch the world burn.
You do, and the Tigers sitting back, and tomorrow night tonight they head to Temple, and tomorrow night they play at Temple, and it's just a really good chance for them to move up.
Yeah, and continue to roll, and that's what they've been doing. We talk about it, undefeated in conference play so far, and now only one game in conference on the road. But I don't know how many of these games you really worry about too much being road games. We always talk about there's going to be a couple, that you're going to lose, and they'll probably come on the road. But tomorrow night against Temple feels like one of those very tricky games, and then you finish the weekend against a Charlotte team that is winless so far in conference play.
Yeah, and then stay out on the road. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's gonna it'll be an interesting week and kind of how they respond, how they look tomorrow night. Definitely got to limit the turnovers, but I think they should be fine. I think maybe I don't know if odds out on that game yet or not, but I'll be curious to see where that lands.
Brian, during college football, I won't say the whole year, but at some point I latched onto it. I know after Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, that weekend was when it was first kind of setting in to me. And I think shortly thereafter, maybe the very next week, was when Alabama lost on the road at Vandy. And that's when I came in with the premise of this year in the SEC football, it's really, really good. It's not vintage. All right, so far in basketball, here's my take after tonight, everybody will have played, I think, 4 conference games. To date, I think it's vintage.
Yeah.
It may be the best ever, but I want to see it play out. Again, if it's a bunch of 6, 7, 8 seeds that win that first Thursday or Friday and then lose in the round of 32, and you end up having 11 in and 5 make the Sweet 16 and 2 make the Elite 8 and 1 goes to the Final 4. Well, that ain't much.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because you're probably going to have a lot of teams in difficult spots in the tournament because of how this conference is going to cannibalize itself. And so there are going to be tough games in those first rounds.
You going to really trust Buzz Williams out there in the tournament?
Probably not. No.
I'm not.
No. But
for that matter, last year I know was different. But Rick Barnes and how tight he gets back to last year. I know everything changes. But last year, Bruce Pearl in Auburn losing to Yale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, that's one that it's kind of easy to forget.
In the good Ole Miss NC tournament years, we know of some trouble in the tournament.
Yeah.
Insert Bryce Drew here.
Well, yes, that
in '98 in Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
and I was there.
Were you
First
really?
game of the day. First game of the day on Friday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Drove to Little Rock, flew southwest to Dallas, Oklahoma City, and I mean white knuckle thunderstorm. I'm not scared at all to fly, but that was one that you thought you land. You go, well, it's not so bad. It just, hardly will ever be worse than that. Until Sunday night, Oklahoma City, back to Dallas, back to Little Rock. When I landed, I said, I'm never doing it again, which I have. But both of them. In that time of year, the change of the seasons, everybody that covers college basketball, this time of year, you got to be real careful. It's a lot of late night driving and you got to be careful. But yeah, that was the first game of the day in Oklahoma City, and big Ole Miss crew out. It was a go for it team. It was a team that people thought could go. Valpo went to the Sweet 16. They came out of Oklahoma City and advanced to St. Louis.
Wow.
Kansas was the big draw out there that year, though, and they lost on Sunday afternoon to Florida State.
Really?
Eliminated early, yeah.
Wow, that's a good group there.
Valpo kind of threaded the needle perfectly.
Wow.
And got to the 16, and that whole day. Just never could get that working margin. You know that feeling when you're watching those tournament games.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're up 2. You're up 4, and if you could get to 6 or 7, you kind of got them. Other team gets it to 2. You get back up 4. Make this bucket here. Make some free throws. You don't. They hit a 3. They're down 1. And then you turn. Off the knee. Something like that, and then the miracle shot.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always like that in the tournament. That's what makes it so hard as a kind of gauge of conference success. But that's kind of where we are because, what was it? I think, 2 years ago when the Big Ten sent, 10 or 11 teams into the tournament.
I ripped them.
It was this vintage
and
year
I'll rip
for the
SEC if they get a gob of teams and don't advance.
Yeah, and it's hard because, it was such a good year for the conference, and then everyone remembers.
But you got to move
tournament.
along.
Yeah,
you got to post that name on that bracket is all the teams do now a post game.
Yeah, and oh man, it's single eliminations. They'll do it to you, and so I could see the same happening for the SEC.
And when you tout yourself, self-proclaimed and ballyhooed as and proclaimed as, it just means more. Well, it doesn't mean just get a bunch of bids.
So. What if you have a scenario, and I don't want to play the what if game, so I'm sorry for even going here. Let's say let's just pick Auburn. Auburn is the team, they go out and they win the whole thing. They cut down the nets, an SEC team has won the national championship, but the rest of the NCAA tournament for the SEC teams is kind of that, you had a handful first round exits, you had a couple teams make somewhat runs, but nothing crazy deep, but you have so a more disappointing year, but you have the national championship as an SEC team.
You won it.
Okay.
You get to Jersey pop.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think if you got a team that wins,
here's one good win last night. When they win, it helps the Memphis Tigers because the Memphis Tigers beat them. Do you trust Dennis Gates in the NCAA tournament?
I sure hope so. I love Dennis Gates. I'm a Dennis Gates guy. I was so
19
happy
last year.
It was not fun.
That was last year.
It was not fun. It was, but hey, I mean,
here's one. We saw it last night. The threes aren't falling. Do you trust Nate Oates?
Yeah, last night was one of those games where I was shocked because, I know Alabama, they've come to be known as that, you make threes and it's a whole lot of success. You don't make. I mean, they've got good players on this team. They've got guys. They've got, guys that can get it to the basket. They've got Grant Nelson and some of these other guys. They've got a good big man down there. And so last night, especially late in the second half, when that offense couldn't get anything going, and I'm sitting there going, hey, let's just move the ball around, try to get a layup. And, let's not try to settle. Let's not do any of this. And they couldn't. That was concerning.
Here's one I may kind of go oppo reverse psychology on you.
Mm-hmm.
With all the first round ugly exits, it looks like Kentucky, 2-3 seed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now.
4
certainly,
maybe.
Certainly.
Heavy favorite in that first game. That'd be 2 versus 15 or 3-14. Mark Pope. Things have changed. We're not going out there and struggling with Oakland.
Yeah.
They drop a house on somebody.
Yeah, I think so.
First day of the tournament.
I think so too. And, it will certainly be different. But, Mark Pope, and I like this team. I like it, but, that was an early exit last year for his team at BYU. I think that was a first round exit for Mark Pope at BYU.
Oh, that's right.
And I think that was his first NCAA tournament. So there's another guy that hasn't had a lot of experience in the tournament.
Here's a team that's doing it again. Iowa State. They take the court tonight as the second-ranked team in the country.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of one of those gritty defensive first teams.
Iowa State.
Yeah, it's who they are, and Otzelberger. I remember. I think did Memphis play him his first year at Iowa State? Was that when Memphis played him?
They did in one of those November games, wasn't it?
And it was, hey, this is the hot young coach, and he's going to turn things around at Iowa State, and. Well, he certainly did that, and they're a really, really good team.
Any case to be made for North Texas being a second AAC team?
I don't think so. I'm still in the boat of a one-bid league for the American. They're a good team, but I don't see them being a tournament team.
The only case that could be made would be. Do they play Memphis again? They don't.
No, that was the only meeting.
No, that's the only case that could have been made is get them at home and they don't get the shot at home.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if they beat them in the finals AAC, they're automatic.
Right.
I guess if they beat Memphis in the semis.
Sure. By that logic, if Memphis isn't the winner and they are, then that would be the 2B because Memphis would get in and
I'd suggest to North Texas for that scenario. You may have maybe one more loss in you.
Yeah.
Before that, and you get tight. There's a point in the year some of these teams, these coaches would never admit it. They don't mind a loss.
No. Some teams need a loss, Brett.
I've talked about the stress test. I think the Tigers need tomorrow night and see how they handle it.
Yeah, see how they respond. Get punched in the mouth.
If you don't handle it very well, then that's what you got to work on for the next month and a half of the season.
No, you're right.
2 months.
I'm looking back at this, and I completely forgot. I knew they were a bad team before T.J. Otzelberger got the job in Ames, but I was going back because I was trying to think, what year was that Memphis played Iowa State? It was in November of 2021, I believe, and Iowa State won that game. The year before, 2 wins total for Iowa State. They beat Arkansas Pine Bluff the first game of the season, and then they beat Jackson State December 20th. Lost every game after that, 2-22, and now you look up. And now you look up, and they are 14-1 under T.J. Otzelberger. So the job he's done since he took over, a 2-22 team, and now 14-1 so far, and one of the best teams in the country.
Right under the time flies when you're having fun. Can you believe? Really, starting about now, we were hearing about it way over there. Well, halfway around the world, 5 years since COVID mania.
It's hard to believe.
Boy, let's hope we never do that again.
Yeah, it feels like one of those, history books once in a, every
Please be
100 years thing. I at least hope so, because that was not fun at all.
The subtitle of the book would be Why America Went Stupid.
Yes, the whole, canceling entire seasons, canceling games. Just
What was the most ridiculous thing? I've got mine easily. Runaway freight train, easiest, dumbest thing that was just an insult to anyone's intelligence. What was yours?
I don't know. Yours sounds so good. I don't know if I have one that can compete. Why don't you share yours first, and I'll continue to think for one.
Walking into a restroom and instructions on the wall for me to how to wash my hands.
Yeah.
Something I've mastered at about 2.
Yeah, something you've literally done your entire life.
Yeah.
I was gonna go the cutout fans at MLB games. That was dumb.
Or how about it? Whether it was at any big box store, supermarket, the one-way line. So
the lines
you walk
on the ground.
by somebody,
Yeah, that's right. And telling you which way you could walk, and it was
telling me how to properly wash my hands.
It was a time, Brett. It was different. I'm glad it's behind us now. 5 years anniversary. Man, that is very hard to believe. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56 and
36th annual January sale going on now at Sunrise Buick GMC of Wolf Case. Didn't get what you wanted for the holidays? That's okay. Now's the time to take care of you. Are you 100% happy with your holiday? Now's the time to get you a new ride. Huge rebates, big discounts, low interest rates, and Sunrise divorce, low pay, just no credit. It's all okay at Sunrise.
We're talking about playoffs. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New DraftKings customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code HERD, H-E-R-D. New customers get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest bench ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, my big number today is the number 29, and it has to do with the Grizzlies and their opponent tonight, the San Antonio Spurs, because Victor Wembanyama enters the night with a three-pointer made and a blocked shot in each of his last 29 games. Only one other player in NBA history has had a streak of even 20 or more games, and that was Kristaps Porzingis, who had a 21-game streak with at least one made three-pointer and a blocked shot. So Wemby tonight with a made three ball and a blocked shot. He'll get to number 30 on consecutive games with both.
He has not been through Memphis this year, but he's on the way. Monday, February 3rd, and then again on Saturday, March 1st. Appointment viewing for me. He's the guy coming through now. I want to see every time he comes through.
Yeah. No, he's going to have that pull for a lot of people. I mean, he is the next biggest draw for every city.
And for now, seems likable. We'll eventually hate him. We just have to.
Probably, especially if he stays with San Antonio, right?
Yeah, right. My big number is 7. Notre Dame 7-0 this year against ranked opponents. They beat number 20 Texas A&M down at College Station to start the year. I didn't yawn, but it didn't knock me over. They beat number 15, U of L, Louisville, number 24, Navy, number 18, Army. Okay, I yawned through those. Number 9, Indiana. That night, that game, I did as well, but like I said to David Cohn, Indiana's really holding up pretty well. I think that was a little premature hostility directed at the Hoosiers that night and this season. They got 2 losses, and the 2 teams are playing for it all next Monday night. Then they defeated Notre Dame defeated number 2 Georgia and number 5 Penn State. So just how easy was Notre Dame's schedule?
Well, that's the thing is the NIU loss stuck out so much that it overshadowed what you just said, and that's incredible.
It kind of has until really Georgia and Penn State, because Indiana or Notre Dame was still being picked at after the Indiana win.
Oh, Brett, I mean, going into the playoffs, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, Notre Dame, they haven't played anybody. I mean, wait till they play some real competition,
but you take out the champion of the SEC and Penn State, then people sit up and pay attention.
Oh, yeah. And so they've looked good. They've played well.
I'm full-fledged for Notre Dame.
Yeah. We talked about it yesterday. This is really one of those games where I sit back and just say, okay, let's have at it. I would like it. There would be reasons on both sides for me to be happy for whoever wins.
I don't know that I'm necessarily buying gear and decorating my car. Well, I know for a fact I'm not doing either one of those things.
I'll come decorate your car in Notre Dame stuff.
Will you? Good. Okay. Just shoe polish ND on the side?
Yeah, something.
That's fine.
Green polish and put that on there.
And David Cohn made another good point. He made a lot of great points, but one about the quarterbacks in these playoffs this year in college football.
Yeah.
It's almost the year of don't kill me at quarterback play.
Yeah. No, it hasn't been that big year for quarterbacks. And I think the prospects going into the draft reflect that. And it's been what you were saying. Maybe we're getting back to the ground and pound, and running backs are important, and that has not been the case for a really long time in college football. It's been a quarterback-driven sport and a quarterback-driven game at the college level. Maybe we're getting more away from that. I don't know, but you look at the quarterbacks in the semifinals. None of them. We said this before the semifinal games. None of those guys were guys that, hey, drop back, throw it for 400 yards, and that's how we're going to win this game.
Yeah, and the defensive lines have gotten so good at getting after that guy that wants to do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, defenses are getting so good, and the way they can scheme for quarterbacks like that just want to sit back there and try to find a receiver, and so it almost kind of eliminates it. That's a good point. But
so who are you for?
Yeah, with all that being said, Notre Dame, maybe. It's a big maybe, because I really have reasons for both sides, but I think Notre Dame. I think that would be fun.
But if confetti flying and Ohio State wins it, Coach Tommy West, much nicer person than I am. If I'm Ryan Day, I'd I'd have to put it in somebody's ear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
People wanted him fired in him not coaching the first playoff game.
Brett, there were radio shows in Columbus calling for him to be fired, and not only that, Brett, saying that the offensive coordinator Chip Kelly was in on it, that they threw the game and he was in on it.
Well, and I told the story about in the elevator season of 23.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yes, that is right. Season. I'm there, and I just had on a red outer layer. It was not Buckeye stuff. It was just whatever I packed. And the fan got on the elevator and said, "He's got to go, doesn't he?" I went, "He who? What are you talking about?"
Oh yeah, get rid of him.
Don't drag me into this. I don't want to be dragged into this. It's just to stay warm.
Yeah, my go-to is always just agree. Yeah, oh man, get him out
Yeah,
of here. Who
fire
are we talking
everybody.
about again? I don't know.
Yeah, fire the radio crew too.
Yes,
especially them.
Yes.
That's who really caused it.
It's when you get on an
Fire everybody.
at the
Fire the
Ole Miss game.
groundskeepers.
Yeah,
fire everybody.
Fire everybody. But I mean, that's what it is when you lose to Michigan if you're Ohio State. And I think there will still be some people. It's not going to be a popular take, but there will be one Ohio State fan, if and when they win the national championship. Oh, well, I mean.
They still got to go.
They didn't beat Michigan. It's great and all. National championship's fun. They didn't beat Michigan.
That game next year at the Big House.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait.
All right, 14th, 2025 prediction. You ready?
Okay. 2 and
Might
1
be
show.
15th.
Yeah, we're losing count.
Game day at that game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we got game day already booked for Texas and Ohio State in Columbus and Ohio State at Michigan in Ann Arbor.
Is that
That'd be fun to go to. I've never been to a
fun.
game at the Big House.
That would be fun, and that would be a good game day. I mean, especially if Ohio State wins the national championship, you've got one team coming off a national championship.
It'll be on Big
Michigan
Noon, and
yeah.
I think that's the best game days when it rolls right in from Corso's pick to the balls on the tee in about 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, those are fun. And
Red River used to be like that.
Yeah, and the energy in those games are usually a lot better because a lot of those people are already there for the game and it's so close. So yeah, that'd be fun. So we have the first week of the season and the last week of the regular season. Is that right? We already have those booked for game day. Okay, glad we're doing the work for them. Maybe we'll send that off to them. Maybe they can send us a check back for the idea, so they don't have.
You'll
to
be
work.
a while getting your cash.
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's get to another break. Wrap up this hour, and when we return, we're talking a whole lot of college basketball because Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated, he joins us next.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humdinger. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing? For New Year's, I wanted to try Ozempic, Wegovy, or other GLP-1 medications everyone's talked about. I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online. I can get GLP-1 medication for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy? Yes. Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door. How do I get started with Zelfie. Just send them a text.
Text DATE to 200-300 to get started this New Year's with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic for 80 to 90% less. 100% online. Don't wait. Text DATE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text DATE to 200-300. DATE to 200-300.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I plug mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's still slow as they finish up the paperwork on this earlier wreck out here on Bill Morris Parkway 385 going outbound at Hacks Crossroads. Again, it's been out here for at least 45 minutes, maybe longer, but it's just got traffic jammed up pretty good on Bill Morris going outbound. As you head out towards Collierville, it's trying to load up with more volume. They did move that stalled vehicle on 40 East just before Sycamore View Road that also clogged up traffic. Hey, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital finds cures for kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases. If you'd like to make a donation, it's easy. Check out stjudes.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Club City. Once again,
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you
We're making in Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our third and final hour. And every week we talk college basketball with Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated. Go follow him on Twitter at CBB_Central. Kevin, last night, a really fun night in the college basketball world. But before we get to what happened last night, I want to start off with the Memphis Tigers, still undefeated in American Athletic Conference play. But I've heard, especially after the last two games, back-to-back wins that were very close against North Texas and East Carolina. I've heard some concern out there from the fan base about the way this team is winning games close, the turnovers, even some of the front court issues that this team might have. Based on the way those the last two games have gone for the Tigers, and with two road games coming up, how do you view this Tigers team right now?
Yeah, I think they're kind of sleepwalking a little bit, playing with their food. Sort of inevitable, I think, to a degree, just because of the way that they're built and how much more talented they are than the rest of the league. But, the metrics matter, and style points are going to matter for Memphis if they want to be a top four seed, if they want some of the things that have been on the table for them with the way they play the non-conference. So I don't see any, glaring, the team is falling apart. It's not 2023-24 redux, but that's a concerning sign. Teams that you should be able to beat more handily, they haven't been able to put away so far.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm with you. I don't think it's pull the fire alarms. I don't think it's run down the hall screaming. It's just attention to some detail. And I said yesterday, I've already said earlier, a couple times today, I think they badly need to be pushed and really scared tomorrow night in Philadelphia against Temple.
Yeah, look, I think eventually they're going to lose one of these, right? They're going to play with their food a little too long, and someone's going to beat them. And hopefully it's the wake-up call, right? And we've seen some wake-up calls already, right? We think about how they played against Mississippi State, how they then come back against Ole Miss, and it was just a different level of intensity. I think, sometimes teams need that. It's inevitable, even with a veteran or older group of guys. You're gonna have walls, and I think that's what they're going through right now. Obviously, you'd rather learn those lessons with wins than losses, but maybe it does take getting pushed and surprised in a game you expect to roll in that wakes people up in that locker room.
Kevin Bryant mentioned the backcourt and turnovers. I don't think it's anything, to use that word again, too alarming. But the last thing this Memphis team can do is have kind of some slippage in the backcourt, because that's probably the biggest quality of this team.
Yeah, 100%, right? And especially given how good those guards are getting to the rim. When you talk about, Haggerty in particular, right? Like, let's just make good decisions and get downhill. Like, he's going to get fouled. He's going to get the free throw line. It's going to keep the offense humming, right? So I think sometimes just guys doing a little bit too much, guys getting a little bit lax, and those turnovers do happen. But at the end of the day, it's sloppy more than anything in my head.
But this schedule really sets up nicely. We were talking earlier about what Ole Miss did last night and their big, the boomerang effect they had in the net. They went from 22 to 16 in the net. Well, the Tigers thrashed them, beat them easily. It was all but named the score. Right in front of Ole Miss at 15 is Michigan State. Well, we know how that played out. And then you get to, some other teams ahead of them, like Auburn. Well, Auburn's doing that to a lot of people. I think if Memphis can just 15, 16 wins in the AAC, that should be 4 seed at worst. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost the exact opposite of what happened last year, where Memphis was beating teams early in the year a year ago, and it turned out as the season went on, maybe those wins didn't mean what we thought they meant. So this year, it's the exact opposite. And it beat Michigan State. You weren't sure what to make of it. You beat Ole Miss. Oh, well, maybe Ole Miss is going to struggle in the SEC with the way they look. Ole Miss, all of a sudden, you look up, they're 4-0. They're playing as well as anyone in the country. Right? So these wins have aged really nicely, and that top of the resume should definitely keep them in that top 4 seed conversation. Again, the metrics are not going to be great, especially if Memphis can't find a way to blow some people out here in the next 6 weeks or so. But yeah, I think the top tier wins and the lack of bad losses so far, then I guess that Arkansas State slip up. I think you put yourself in pretty good position.
Yeah. Speaking of that Ole Miss win last night over Alabama, the biggest thing that stood out to me was how good defensively Ole Miss was. This is a team in Alabama that averages over 90 points a game playing at home, and Ole Miss holds them to only 64 points. What have you seen really since Chris Beard has taken over at Ole Miss, really this tough identity that he's installing, and how that came out to play last night against Alabama?
Yeah, that was a culture win for Ole Miss and for Beard, right? Like that's who they were at Texas Tech. Like that's who they've always been. It's what they wanted to be at Texas. Last year they were not good enough defensively. Like they really struggled on that end of the floor. And I thought even this year, I thought their personnel defensively wasn't great. They're not super big and athletic. You play a big man in Dia, who's not necessarily a true rim protector. I thought there was a chance they would regress on that end of the floor, but they've been locked and loaded in SEC play, and what an incredible defensive showing yesterday against one of the most dynamic offenses in the sport.
That was one last night that for Mark Adams. That hangs at the Mark Adams louvre of defensive wins, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And look, that was the overlooked factor, I think, in getting Ole Miss back to where they wanted to be was getting Mark Adams and Chris Beard reunited, right? Like that duo was so successful at Tech, and obviously
at Little Rock.
Things ended, you weren't sure. Yeah, and Little Rock obviously as well. So, look, I think it's great for Beard to have someone he trusts like that running the defense. And Adams, say what you will about his head coaching tenure, is one of the best assistants, especially defensively in the country.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting game last night was Missouri getting the win over Florida, a massive win for Dennis Gates and his team. I mean, the really laughing stock of the conference last year with how poorly they did in conference play, and now a big-time win over a Florida team that just a week ago held Tennessee to under 50 points and had a big win against the Vols. What have you seen from Missouri? Because I think a lot of people thought they would be better than last year, but I think people still questioned what this season would look like. What do you think of the job Dennis Gates has done this season?
Yeah, it's a signature win. It was one that sets you up to be an NCAA tournament team. I thought they were great yesterday offensively against a Florida team that, as you said, has improved defensively. They made shots, which always helps, right? They made some tough ones, especially early on, that I thought kind of swung the momentum, gave them that early lead, and they were just kind of playing keep away the rest of the night. But I thought Gates did a good job of balancing. Yeah, we had to go get some portal guys, and we got to invest in those dudes. But the freshmen and the sophomores that played a year ago and took those lumps, they've gotten better. Whether it's Robinson, whether it's some of the other guys in that young core that I thought were challenged a year ago that as they went through being the laughing stock. I think those guys grew, and that's given them some really impressive depth and experience that I think helped them here early in SEC play.
Last night, the two wins of the night, maybe the wins of the year, Dane Bradshaw closed their broadcast as the analyst last night in Tuscaloosa, saying that Ole Miss win was the win of the year so far. Did he say in college basketball or just the SEC? I think he may have said the SEC. And then Mizzou said, hold on a second. They win down against the Gators. Tonight, can Georgia keep that going and win at Thompson Bowling?
Man, it's going to be challenging. But Tennessee's looked a little bit more vulnerable here in the last week or so. Obviously, the 43 against Florida stood out. But I thought against Texas, they continue to struggle offensively. Chaz Lanier, as good as he's been, you knew there'd be a little regression, and I think you're starting to feel that. So against a Georgia team that has really good guards and then a potential NBA lottery pick in Asa Newell, I'm curious to see if Georgia can hang. I think they'll at least be in this one. I don't know that they'll pull it out outright, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're right there in the end.
Janai Broome is going to be out for some time. Last night, Auburn was without him, but really didn't need him. They really flexed their depth and all of those guys that can come in and really plug and play in that starting lineup. I guess last night just showed how good this Auburn team is because Janai Broome had been playing like one of the best players in college basketball, and even with him out, they were dominant against a really good, and we saw it here in December, a really good Mississippi State team.
Yeah, I always feel like maybe the second game without a star player is the harder one. Sometimes the first game you sort of rally it together. And so we'll obviously see what happens with Auburn in the next couple of weeks as Broome gets back. But, man, what an impressive showing. I mean, all their role players stepping up. In some ways, this could end up being a great thing for Auburn long term to go through this, to have guys like Cheney Johnson and Tahad Pettiford and Miles Kelly have to step up. And experience what life is like without Broome. Because you never know what happens in the NCAA tournament. Does he get in foul trouble? Does he tweak an ankle again? Like, these things do happen. And so this could strengthen them long term. Obviously, I want to see more of it before I anoint the post-Broome era just fine for Auburn. But first test certainly passed.
Kevin Sweeney's our guest on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's with Sports Illustrated and College Basketball Central, and he's on his way to college basketball, as he's always on his way to college basketball when we visit him, whether in the immediacy tonight or the weekend ahead. Kevin, every year since the kind of the advent, the explosion of the net, there's a net darling. Is there a net darling this year that you think is getting maybe a little overrated by the net?
It's funny. I thought early in the year there were some teams that you weren't sure about, right? I thought like Cincinnati was a team that the numbers really liked. They've started to fall off. I think right now the team I would probably highlight being higher than you would probably expect would be Mississippi State, right? I mean, I know that blew Memphis out, but lately they've struggled. It was at home against Kentucky. I'd also highlight maybe Oregon. I feel like Oregon's gotten up there with some wins early in the year. Right now, I think they're playing closer to like an 8 or a 9 seed. And then, teams closer down the bubble like Ohio State. We'll see if they can maintain it. Ohio State juiced the numbers early on, having been great in Big Ten play. Do they continue it in league play as the schedule gets tough? I'm pretty skeptical.
All right, mine is Gonzaga. Do you think their net is in relation to how good a team they are right now? They're 11 in the net.
Yeah, their numbers are weird because all their losses have been really close. Like, they've been in all those games, and when they've won huge. Most notably that Baylor game on opening night, but there's a couple examples if you go through their schedule. I think if you're predicting if you're using the net as who are the best teams in the country, I think Gonzaga is probably right in that top 10-ish. But if the net is what have you accomplished so far, I think Gonzaga does deserve a little more criticism or scrutiny. I'm with you. I think it's challenging for them because they've lost all their big games, and we'll see if they can bounce back. But we won't really see it in WCC play. St. Mary's one thing, but once they get into the NCAA tournament. I think it's an unknown how they handle closing game play.
Have we decided yet how far is too far gone in the net? What's the lowest you can be and still be an at-large invitee?
Yeah, I think the 60s and 70s. Like if you're over, I think you're in deep trouble. There's one kind of example right now that I would say is, maybe the outlier to that, and that's Wake Forest, who is beat Michigan early in the year, which is a monster win, and now is I think playing much better, but has pretty bad metrics across the board. We'll see if they can play their way back into the conversation in the ACC, where not a ton of great wins out there, but can you stack enough good ones? But in general, I would say if you're outside the top 75 today, it's going to take some serious work to get back in the mix by Selection Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, Brett and I were talking about Mike Woodson in Indiana yesterday and kind of preparation for that big game last night against Illinois, and then it was a really poor showing for IU. They give up 60 points in the first half. They get booed off the court at halftime. I think the effort from some of their especially key guys was in question for most of that game last night.
Fracas, too.
Sure did at the end. Ballo got ejected with like 2 minutes left in the game. What do you make of the current state of Indiana basketball?
I mean, not a lot of positives to say, right? I mean, look, as you mentioned, like, to have the effort that they showed in the first half, and Umar Ballo in particular, because he was the one who then got in the fight late in the game. Like, Umar Ballo did not want to be out there. It was very obvious he did not want to be out there. He's jogging back on defense. He's not diving for loose balls. But then, when the game's over, and now there's a little fight. All right, who's going to be the first one to throw hands?
That's right.
Yeah. Like, and you're $1 million player. Like, let's call it what it is. Umar Ballo is one of the highest paid players in college basketball. He was one of the biggest transfer portal pickups by all the numbers and metrics and whatnot. Like, you get punked at your home court, and that's the way you respond. Like, I don't know, man. Like it's serious soul searching that has to happen. I think it's gonna be hard for Mike Woodson to keep his job with the way that I think the next 6 weeks are gonna go. Now they have the talent where it would not be completely impossible for them to turn it around and get competitive again. But you don't get blown out like that multiple games in a row if you're a good basketball team. That just doesn't happen. And that's 2 games in a row. They've lost 4 like that now this year. They got blown out by Indiana, by Louisville. They got blown out, I believe, by West Virginia. Like, they've gotten popped when they've gotten beat. And it's pretty concerning. And at this point, I think the patience is wearing thin on the Woodson era pretty quickly.
Kevin, I just love your candor, talking about $1 million player, and I'm in defense of college and college football and college basketball coaches that play the money card. Rick Barnes kind of did play it last week, and I think you should. I hope the rest of the media and fans will catch up to it, that we're not talking about. We're not talking about amateurism anymore. We're talking about they have a job. Now, used to they had an assignment with the scholarship, with tuition and books and all that, and that mattered. But it's been ramped up with all these commas and zeros behind the check.
Yeah, look, I think you're being like Umar Ballo is being paid certainly to play basketball for Indiana, but like it'd be one thing if he was not making shots. Like I can live with that. It's part of the deal, but like. The number one thing Umar Ballo is being paid to do is be a good representative of Indiana. Like, nothing about what he did yesterday represented Indiana basketball right. And that, to me, is the thing that's frustrating, right? Like Rick Barnes' comments about Chaz Lanier, like he wanted Chaz to shoot the ball. Like, he said, look, like, we brought you here, we paid you to come here because we know you can shoot the ball. So if you're open and you don't shoot, why are you in the game, right? Like, that, to me, like, I'm all for it. And, like, I don't understand some of the criticism of that. I think there's limits to how critical you want to get of any player, right? Especially if it feels like they're going on and playing their tails off.
I agree.
But when you're not playing hard, like Umar Ballo isn't playing hard, like, yeah, you deserve all the smoke, all the criticism until you do. You're making too much money not to.
I agree so much, and let me be clear. By no means to demean or to berate or to really go in on someone and try to humiliate them. But just as in the scholarship days, look, there are some expectations for you, and I expect you to keep them.
Right, yeah, look, if you're signing up to play at a place like Indiana or a place like Memphis or a place that has tradition and pride, like putting on that jersey and going out there should mean something to you. And if it doesn't, whether you're getting paid $1 million or $1, like, you got to look yourself in the mirror, right? And if you're a coach and you have guys on your team that you don't feel like care and value that, then you probably got to go find new players. Like, to me, it's that simple.
Kevin, I love you say whether it's $1 million or $1. A long time ago, 40 years ago, Frank Broyles was famous for saying, for any coach you got, if he's winning, you're not paying him enough, and if he's losing, $1 is too much.
100%. That's where it's going to be for a lot of guys. It's a different world now, but man, I mean, that was a tough watch last night in Bolivia.
Kevin, it might still be a little too early. I'm not one to start looking at bracketology super seriously on, January 15th. But
until you release your first one, we don't look
right.
at it seriously,
That's
Kevin.
when we really look at it. Who is a kind of under-the-radar mid-major team that you think towards the end of February and into March could be getting a lot of buzz and could maybe be one of those teams to keep an eye on come tourney time?
It's funny, last year's sort of darling was Indiana State, right? And they come up short, partially because of the bid Steelers. A team that's very similar to Indiana State is UC San Diego. And really them and UC Irvine in the Big West are two incredible teams. San Diego does it with offense. Irvine does it with defense. But they're really fun to watch. And it'll be awesome to see both make the tournament. I think it'll probably be a one-bid league regardless, and whoever can fight it out to the death we'll accomplish that in the Big West tournament. But those two teams can beat anyone in the country. Irvine was one of the last 10 undefeated teams, and UC San Diego, their shooting and their skill level offensively is just off the chart.
Well, it's going to be fun to keep an eye on all these teams as we get closer and closer to March. Kevin, love always keeping up with where you're going.
Who are you en route to tonight?
Yeah, where are you going tonight and this week?
Yeah, we're this great flat tonight for Iowa State versus Kansas. Should be an awesome game. That atmosphere has always been incredible. So excited to be there in person, and then pretty quiet rest of the week. So we'll see what's in store next week. But this is our big trip for the week.
Yeah, it's a big bang for tonight. That'll be a fun one. Kevin,
this time of year, the snow and the ice and the fog and late night driving. Kevin, you be careful.
Yes.
I will do my best. It's beautiful out right now, just chilly, but hopefully it stays that way.
That's right.
Thanks, man.
Well, Kevin, we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin Sweeney joining us every single Wednesday afternoon to talk college basketball, and he's gonna get a good one tonight with that game he's at.
UC Irvine's nickname.
The UC Irvine. It's like the Anteaters or something.
That's
like
it.
that.
Ding,
Okay,
ding, 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 winner.
How about that?
Now, that whole UC system, boy, that's a trivia game inside itself, because UC San Diego, very different, than, of course, than San Diego State, but also San Diego.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. UC San Diego.
And I want to say there might be another something San Diego in there.
Maybe. But I know San Diego State, obviously the Aztecs. San Diego is
Toreros.
the Toreros.
David Fisdale's alma mater. And
Really?
played
I didn't know
against
that.
Penny first year for Penny in the NIT here at FedEx Forum.
Yeah, I remember that.
I went to the game.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't. That's one that's going to stump me. UC San Diego.
I don't know either.
I have to look that up.
But that whole UC system, and then you get into the Cal Polys and the San Luis Obispos and the Davises and
the Tritons.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Tritons. Yeah, and who was it? I think Bruce Marshall was telling us last year or the year before
it
that
was fascinating.
All of them have the same color schemes?
All color schemes, and I started the conversation with, I want to say they all, like UCLA and Cal Berkeley, all have the same fight song.
Oh, yeah, I do remember you bringing that up.
And that got Bruce going,
That's
and then
crazy.
he brought us in on even more. He knows it. He's lived it.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. And the great thing is they all play on the same nights. Like their schedules, because of that conference, are usually all lined up together. And so you'll just have a night where from anywhere between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, you've got UC San Diego versus Cal State Fullerton and Cal State Northridge versus, it's just all of them playing each other.
I'm trying to find that conference, because there's another with San Diego in it. And you're thinking, how are they all all different? And they are. I can't find the conference.
It's Big California Conference. That's what they should call it.
Yeah, maybe West Coast.
Big West, I believe, is the conference.
Is it Big West?
I think
okay,
that's their conference.
Well, University of San Diego is in the West Coast.
That's right.
Toreros are West Coast.
That's right. Yes, but I think most of the UC teams and the
you are correct
and stuff like that are in the Big West.
Cal Irvine, Cal Davis, Cal Santa Barbara, Cal Riverside.
Yeah, Riverside. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a mess. Can easily get those confused.
Big state.
Yes, very big state, a lot of colleges.
I think it would blow us away, the enrollment in all those.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know, I mean,
huge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but good for them.
Big state.
Big state. They've got plenty of space.
That's what we nailed down today. California is a big state.
That's right. Yeah.
All the breaking news
to the
right
table,
here.
yeah. Job well done. California is a big state.
We'll be very self-congratulatory.
Yeah. That's definitely one we can pat ourselves on the back.
Right. Speaking of self-congratulatory, last week I was picking by fun. Look, they picked back at me. I went 0-6 in NFL playoffs. So have fun with me. But I was picking at the local weather people that. The models, they really didn't want to lock down the snow until they got the final, super duper model reading. And then invariably, right after the big bad weather, they'll run that promo. We nailed it. We had it down to the centimeter, all the snow, and we were looking out for you because we love you more than anybody else does.
Nailed it, Brett. They got it. Good for them.
They love the self-congratulatory ads. We were there. Hey, live, local, and late breaking.
Brett, everybody needs a pat on the back sometimes.
Sure do.
And, you got to pat yourself on the back sometimes.
That's right.
And, if the opportunity comes, look, and I'm just saying this because I know there's going to be a day very soon where I come in here about something and start patting myself on the back. So
and we should.
I just want to get that out. I am 100% pro patting yourself on the back. But before we get to a break, let me remind you our 5 o'clock sponsor. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. They've been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. And their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169, or visit them online, jaguarbluffcity.com. But please go out there and test drive those beautiful vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, right there off of Quince for Bluff City Jaguar. Well, let's get to another break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's trending.
Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Elwood Shack in the Lowe's parking lot on summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwoods. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito, either beef brisket or pork shoulder, and pancake biscuits made fresh daily. Real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwood's even has a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now with 2 locations and open every day for you.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Hey folks, no time to wait. It's here, the 36th annual January sale going on now at Sunrise Buick GMC of Wolf Case. Didn't get what you wanted for the holidays? That's okay. Now's the time to take care of you. Are you 100% happy with your non-AI? Now's the time to get you a new ride. Huge rebates, big discounts, low interest rates, and more offering you all great value at night. Sunrise divorce, low pages, no credit. It's all okay at Sunrise. You're here to make a ride with the January sale going on now at Sunrise Buick GMC of Wolf Case. Time to buy a car.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A couple of EMS calls out here the last few minutes as that traffic increases down to 40 eastbound from Mill Branch all the way out to 385 Billmores Parkway. It won't be long before it cranks up over here on 40 East from Sycamore View Road, headed past Germantown Parkway out into Fayette County. Just watch for some radar as you travel through Arkansas this afternoon. I-40 out towards Forest City. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area now for well over 40 years, and they are your Valentine's Day headquarters at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. We got to talk about what's trending, and what was trending last night at least was Tiger returning to something that kind of resembled a course with the TGL, his first event.
What was your watch time?
Well, Brett, let me ask you first. You are a massive Tiger Woods fan. It seems like if he is on the television, if he's playing in a tournament, you are watching. So I've been waiting all day. Did you tune in last night?
I could almost, at tournaments that I've seen him in, it's the closest thing I get to just really stalking someone. It's a little weird. I mean, whenever he plays, I want to be there plenty early. When he pops out of the locker room, the clubhouse, to the practice area, and like all those guys, they all go to short game chipping area, and then I want to, and every shot. I don't keep hey, so and so's over on number 7. No, I'm right here. I'm gonna watch Tiger, and it's been like that since first time I got to see him as a pro, and I don't remember exactly when that was, 2000. Something. Anyway, didn't watch a single solitary second of it. Never will.
Wow. No TGL
Probably not the
for
target
you.
demographic.
No, I don't think you are. And that's a very good point by you. I'll say this, and I've started throughout the day questioning my allegiance to the TGL, which is very hard for me, Brad.
You've had some self-reflection on it?
I have, because
I hope I don't get to the point where I have to have a little self-analysis about it.
I hope you do, Brett, because that means it's successful. That means they're on they're having a good time.
Remember, I said we don't like change, and I am king of not liking change.
So here's the dilemma I'm facing. So I was excited about it. I was ready to go. I was ready to watch it. I'm not going to watch TGL over Ole Miss Alabama basketball. I'm not going to watch it over Duke basketball, which Duke basketball was after. But
that's me. Bryant. That's where I am. Kind of picture the old floppy disk, and my old floppy disk, my brain, it just has so much space left on it. And I'm going to fill it with kind of the cozy stuff that I'm more familiar with.
Now, last week, I did the same thing. It was, I think, an 8 o'clock start, ended at 10, about 10:30. I logged on to my ESPN Plus. I pulled it up. I watched the whole thing, and I enjoyed it. last night did the same thing. Once the Duke game ended, I think there was another.
I wish it
8
will.
o'clock game.
I'm not rooting against.
No. But I turned it on and I started watching it at about 10 o'clock or so, 11 o'clock or so, probably close to 11. Then I watched about an hour and I was tired. I went to bed and I didn't finish watching it. So I watched an hour. The long-winded answer of your question was I watched an hour last night.
And to show you that I'm one giant leap backwards in most things, and I'm very comfortable in it. Last night I listened on these airwaves to David Kellum and Coach Mark Dukes most of the night doing the Alabama-Ole Miss game.
I bet that was a lot of fun listening to those two and that type of game.
I promise you, I could get down to just the radio. I don't want to, and I don't have to, and I'm not going to, but I could.
No, I know you could, and a lot of Thursday nights in the NFL season, you do have to get down to a radio.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I love the Westwood crew.
No, they got a good crew. They got a really good crew.
I'm a firm believer in radio, and at this point, I can't turn my back on it.
No, you can't. You've invested too much time in it. I will say, I mean, TGL, it's fun. I'm going to keep watching it. The problem with last night, though, and this seems like a big issue. So Tiger gets up and hits a shot, sends it long. I think it ended up going into the virtual water. And he comes off, and of course, all these guys are mic'd up. So
Do you lose a ball in virtual water?
Well, no.
Okay.
No, we still have the same amount of balls, but he misses his shot. He hits it long, and all these guys are mic'd up, so we hear all their conversations. And he goes, "Something's wrong. I don't hit this club that far." And then I forgot who for the other team steps up, hits a shot. I think he hits it long. He goes, "I don't hit this club that far." And so I think something with the screen might have been a little off yesterday because it felt like everybody was complaining, at least on that
kind of like in the old pitching machine, the rubber-coated balls. You didn't know they could come right at your dome.
They could. They definitely could. So, I don't know. I know the first week of TGL numbers were pretty good. I think a lot of intrigue. I wonder what the numbers will be for last night with Tiger. After this last night, I fear what the numbers might be next week.
All right, Brian, we could stop right there with the TGL comments.
Yes.
And I don't think I've said anything that would get me in trouble. It's just not. It's just not
your
what
thing,
I
and
prefer.
that's completely
so
fine.
I can't stop right there. I've got to take that giant step backwards and make the old man comments of the day, and here they are. From what I've gleaned from it, I hadn't watched a single solitary second. And what I get from Liv, and honestly, I say this around the par 3 every year at Phoenix. I say it every year with the behavior at Ryder and President's Cup. That's not the golf course to me, and that's not the golf course that I want. I know a lot of people in the golf course business that they do. They've got to go to, and I think you should have fun. You definitely should, because we're not on the tour going out to weekend golf course. I understand that, but it's just not the one I learned and the one that I am comfortably around. I'm not wild about the music. It playing with your buddies, and and they got Steely Dan cranked up. Well, I don't know if they have Steely Dan, but anybody,
there's something cranked up.
Whatever it is. That's not how I learned how to play. That's not what I'm comfortable with wanting to be around. I want the stuffy tree-lined golf course.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because you're right. For such a long time, that's what golf was. There was nothing different.
It's all I knew.
Yeah, and for such a long time, that was everything about
golf. I was
golf.
with a group last year at a place that you could pull the carts. I mean, you practically could pull them up on the greens.
Wow.
And I just how I grew up and how I knew. I mean, if you did that, you were in all kind of trouble.
Oh yeah. That's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, I mean, they certainly gets the music popping, and it feels like TGL does the same thing, and
we're in a different spot in golf. Golf's trying to sort out some things.
Golf is definitely trying to sort out
it's
some
gotten
things.
complicated near and far in everything that's happened to it, and we're in that full recognition of he ain't coming back. it's over.
Yeah. Well,
And we know who he is.
Yeah.
And he was the focus last night.
Last
He's
night.
the focus of this.
Yeah, and it felt like, I mean, the whole
And
thing.
that's not ever happening again.
No,
that's not coming back.
No.
We were lucky, writ large, in the golf world to kind of go Hogan, Palmer, Nicklaus, Tiger, and all the great players in there. But that was they were kind of the kings. There's going to be another king. It might be Scotty Scheffler, but he's not going to be Tiger Woods.
No. I'll say this, Brett, and it was one thing that a main reason I wanted to watch last night, even though I didn't watch it live, I made a point to watch it because I wanted to see what does Tiger look like? How is he approaching this? Obviously, this is his brainchild. He created this whole thing. And last night watching it, I said, this is his retirement. This is him trying to still be around the game and his friends, but do it kind of how he can do it because he can't be out there on the tour every weekend.
And Brian, you know how resistant I am to these places that have clear cut every tree, and they all do it under the guise of natural golf. No, they're doing it to try to save money on water and chemicals. Yeah. And I still want to see a tree line golf course with anything that's not good grass killed.
Yes, you've brought that up multiple times.
And if you can't afford it, then you're pretending. You don't really you can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but. Tiger last night was
I want to see
not
people
fun to watch.
Dress right and act right at the golf course. I do. And that's not changing. I'm sorry.
Honestly, in all of the old man, yelling at the clouds type of things you could have gone, I don't think that's that far off because that's
I even get mad at the cloud. The cloud. Not the clouds.
Yes, the cloud. Well, you're not alone when it comes
I'm
to
paying
the war
99 cents a month to Apple for something that I don't even know how to send stuff to that.
Yeah, that extra space in the cloud, Brett.
Yeah, 99 cents. If I fell over dead today, does my American Express, does it keep getting billed into perpetuity?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at some point, can somebody go, he's gone. He can't.
I would hope if your phone doesn't have any activity for such a long time, they go, you know what? I don't think he's using it anymore. Maybe we can cut this off. Tonight, we talked about it earlier, Brett, but the Grizzlies in action against the Spurs, coming off that loss against the Houston Rockets. What would be the reaction to another loss on the road against the Spurs?
No biggie from me until they get them again Friday. Now, if you drop both of them, it's starting to get a little bit bigger. But I'm not going to have too much overreaction to January basketball, and especially with this long homestand coming up, starting with the best day of the year coming up Monday, the federal holiday, the recognition of Martin Luther King Day at FedEx Forum. I will say it again Monday. I'm sorry that everybody now is kind of doing something on that day. I was hoping in the beginning it would be more standalone, just for us, maybe just for Atlanta. Okay, I know they're all doing it, but I know how special it is at Memphis the whole day, the festivities, the Hyde Foundation Legacy Awards, the National Civil Rights Museum, everything that goes on that day is special. And that starts a long homestand that even if it goes wrong in San Antonio, for one or both of these, you can get home, get things fixed. And then you got your eyes on the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
trade deadlines in there, and then at that point, it's go for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, for one,
very crowded 2 through 7, too, in the West.
Yeah, and that's how the West is going to be. Nothing's going to change about it. But I should say this: I think the Grizzlies will win tonight. I think they're the better team, and they're going to be tough, but road favorite. But I'm glad you brought up the trade deadline and the All-Star break because, it happens every year. I mean, I play this game with myself every single year where you start seeing, trade deadline's going to be here before you know it. We got to start looking at trades in December, and I'm going, okay, let's calm down. Let's get to the new year. Earlier, when you started talking about we're getting healthier, maybe Gigi and Vince around the corner, see what you have in them, and then decide. I looked over at the date and saw January 15th, and I go, Oh, man. Yeah, it's about a month away until the trade deadline. And
it got me in the game notes today to see game 41.
Yeah, that was huge when you mentioned that it's just flying by. And so, good opportunity here for the Grizzlies against a team right now playing 500 basketball, 19-19 on the season. I mentioned it, a little better at home, 12-8. That'll be a 7:00 start tonight in San Antonio.
You know what we get a week from tomorrow or Friday? It's one day next week, either today, a week from today or a week from tomorrow. We get, and it is the annual outrage, and I don't participate in it, on Baseball Hall of Fame.
That's right. Yeah. I think today The Athletic put up their baseball writers' votes for the Hall of Fame. But you're right, it's that time of year.
And then we will get to Super Bowl week, and it is in New Orleans.
Yep.
And I think that announcement on the class is on Thursday, February 6th. And that's the one that, Eli Manning either will or won't go in on first ballot. And it will be announced whether he is in or out in his hometown of New Orleans.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, for the opportunity to get that that you're in your hometown would be.
And there's going to be outrage from that. He's in. Everybody can just get ready to be mad about it.
Yes. So hopefully he's in. We'll see. I mean, they'll be here before we know it. Again, I mean, already this year's flying by. 15 days in already. It feels like yesterday was New Year's Eve. But we need to get to our final break of the day. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Bombshell. Citigroup's latest prediction, gold rocketing past $3,000 by 2025. Think about that number, $3,000. While Wall Street scrambles, here's what they won't tell you. This isn't just a prediction, it's a wake-up call. Every day you wait could cost you. Every moment of hesitation, a lost opportunity. Every maybe tomorrow, another step behind. Smart investors are already moving. They see what's coming. A golden tide that could lift some boats and leave others high and dry. Where will you be when gold hits $3,000? Celebrating your foresight or wishing you'd listened? Noble Gold Investments is your bridge to that future, your partner in preparation, your guide to what's coming. Be positioned. Be confident. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com now and get 10 1-ounce silver American Eagle coins with a qualified account. Just use promo code SILVER because $3,000 gold won't wait for permission. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risk. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making any investment decision.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier, historic Town Square. Come out to the lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about the world famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite hand-breaded onion ring. Dyer's, serving world famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic Town Square.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I plug mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Five-Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Jenkins
Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, we've talked about it a lot throughout the show. Tigers got some help last night by just sitting back and doing nothing. Their net improved one spot last night, and they didn't do a thing. Ole Miss gets a big win on the road against Alabama, and Missouri became a quad one win because of where they moved following their win over Florida last night. So now when you look at what the Tigers have done, 5-2 in quad one. There are not many teams better than that in college basketball. They had 7 quad one opponents, and to have that type of record, really, really good. 4-0 in quad two, and tomorrow night on the road against Temple, they will have an opportunity to go to 5-0 in quad two games when they face Temple on the road. We've talked about it. That could be a tricky game. Tigers should go out there and win, but being on the road, if you kind of get into one of those games where you're turning the ball over, you lose the momentum, like you always say, Brett, or I think you said it the other day, that the rest of this season, those games for these opposing teams, it's their Super Bowl. And we've seen, I think Jason Munns retweeted it earlier, Temple putting out promotional videos of them unboxing the white shirts that everyone's going to get for the whiteout tomorrow night. So Temple's going to try to bring it, but Tigers sitting really pretty right now, and another opportunity to go to 5-0 in quad two tomorrow night.
There will be seats occupied in opponent gyms the rest of the year for the Tigers that won't have another rear end in them again until Memphis comes back around next year.
Yep.
And we talked about the other day, it's going to be the slow creep in net and in AP. It's not ever going to be that move up 5 spots week.
Nope.
It's going to be slow. What I learned today, I'm sorry I brought it up too, because it's a name that sends chills through Tiger football fans, and I remember it too well. That 4th down from Gino Guidugli in that game that day against the Tigers. It was a great Danny Wimprine Guidugli matchup, and now he's an assistant coach on Notre Dame.
Yeah, full circle, Brett. Life comes at you fast, I guess, but good for him, sitting pretty right now. What I could have done without, it's got to be Quinn Ewers' decision to go to the NFL draft. I mean, I thought he had a good opportunity.
I thought he needed to come back and get well.
I'm with you. Just a season that really was full of injuries. He just never seemed right. It felt like he was always, even when he was playing hurt. I thought
that oblique is some injury.
It really is. And I thought, especially when we saw Carson Beck transfer to Miami and
Isn't that what Paulo Banchero had?
That's right. It was an oblique injury. Yes, it was. But to see what Carson Beck got going to Miami, or at least what's out there rumored to be what he got, and some of the openings, if you believe the rumor mill, some of the schools that were calling Carson Beck, some of the schools that would have been or maybe had already been calling Ewers, it felt like he could have had a nice payday going back to school, whether it was at Texas or somewhere else. But it feels like maybe, and we talked about this with David Cohn a little more than an hour ago, maybe he saw that opportunity. He sees the quarterbacks in this draft class and how there's not a lot out there. It's kind of a weak quarterback class, and maybe he said, this is my best opportunity to go out there and get a good paycheck in the NFL and get that good first contract with a team.
Could have done without last night. Another loss for Cal's Razorbacks. Cal Heath now 0-4 in SEC play, dead last, 16th out of 16. And a roadie coming up at Columbia Saturday after Mizzou went to Gainesville and beat the Gators. Then the Razorbacks be home against Georgia and home against Oklahoma. That's rough stuff.
Yeah, no, it's life in the SEC, Brett. It's not easy.
Kentucky got a big gift.
Yeah.
Not having to get it really ugly, firing him and paying him off.
Yeah, no, it worked out for both sides, honestly. I mean, when you kind of when you step back and look at it for Cal, he's able to get out of there.
Andy Enfield started it all.
Yeah, he sure did, which is crazy to even think about. But yeah, I mean, for Cal, you don't have to get fired, and Kentucky doesn't have to go through that, and they get a great coach, and everyone's happy at the end of the day. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Thompson Bowling Arena on the campus of the University of Tennessee, up on Rocky Top, Georgia and UT. Number 6 versus number 25 in AP. It's every night in SEC play, a big-time matchup. First time in series history these teams meet in a top 25 matchup. Mike White, the coach at Georgia, against the AD at Tennessee, his brother, Danny White.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game tonight. A handful of really good games in college basketball tonight, but beam me to the Grizzlies on the road tonight against the Spurs. The Spurs, they're better at home. They've been on the road for a really long time, and so maybe they can have some juice coming off a win against the Lakers in their most recent game. So maybe they have some juice tonight against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies looking to bounce back after that loss earlier this week on the road against Houston.
Number 9 KU at number 2 Iowa State. West Virginia at number 10 Houston. Red River shootout on the hardwood, as you said earlier, in Norman. 11-5 Texas against 13-3 OU. 11 NBA games tonight, and we'll sure be watching the Grizzlies, but Houston at Denver is a good matchup too. A lot of seed line games now being played every night in the NBA.
Yeah, some good games tonight in college basketball and even in the NBA. We've got a pair of games on ESPN, and so that gets started here in just a couple of minutes. So it should be a good night in the sports world, especially when it comes to basketball. So enjoy it all, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.